start off with, before the official episode begins, I didn't save. I could cheat and get a different thing since I already unlocked the memory fragment. There we go, that's what it's called. I could cheat. But I will be good and not cheat. Even though it's very tempting. So anyway, hi! Welcome to the official episode now. What are we on? Like part 5, I think? We're starting off, and hopefully we'll get all of Marianne's story? Chapter? I don't know. In one go. The numbers are so little on the top of my screen, and they glare at me with such intensity that I can just hear their accusations. I'm late for a night out with the girls, yes, but I have a perfectly good excuse. Jeez. Considering I didn't follow typical office hours, they really can't expect me to be able to just go as I please at 5:30 on the dot. The client is, first and foremost, my priority. I have to sit tight with my personal assistant, Chris. Tells me we have a big one coming up and that I shouldn't miss this one. So this is gonna be, because it starts on the 18th, right? So this will be like when the Wrights get in contact with her, I think. He knows a lot more on who's who and what's what when it comes to these socialites, and I trust that judgment call. I really don't have time for rich people, their drama, and their politics. These sorts who were born with silver spoons in their mouths, and who were used to wagging their silver tongues about. I let him handle the negotiating with them for the most part. Why else would I have hired him? But he told me I'd receive a message about an hour ago.
Now, if only he has the full shilling when it comes to the time.
Come on, I have a social life too, you know. To an extent. Sort of. Pressing my head against the table, I try to stave off an oncoming headache when the notification for a new email pops up. All I'm expecting is a, hey, this looks like a good project I found, go send them a design, or something like that really. That's how it often goes. Even with these rich, jammy clients who've heard of me from their equally rich, jammy friends, I can't expect them to hire me right off the bat. Which is all well and good and reasonable. We figured out what they want, send them my portfolio, my drafts of the projects, my rates, and hopes for the best. This is a big client, Marianne. I'll babysit Baruthio for you. Just please take this one project. I promise, this person is huge in Luxburn. Mr. Parker, this is a formal request to secure the services of Marianne McCullough, hereinafter the designer, called the designer. As authorized by Hannah Wright, hereinafter called for the client for interior design work at Ermengarde Mansion, Luxburn LX18 ORF, United Kingdom. The client hopes to have the designer there on the 21st October, Friday, with the time pending. But as I open the mail and see that I've been requested by the client specifically, well, I certainly didn't expect that. And it's pretty straightforward too. Anyone else would probably be excited. They'd be working with the Hannah Wright. She's just one of those rich socialites that everybody loves to talk about, no matter how hard I try to tune such nonsense out. It would have been enough for me to reply an affirmative to Chris and leave, but he has never pleaded for me to take a project before. We've worked with big personalities in the past, celebrities, bankers, and even a few politicians. My PA has been indifferent about those. So, the question bounced around my skull before I spy one of the email attachments. A newspaper clipping of the Luxburn Daily's business news section, boasting the headline, Wright Enterprise donates $2.5 million to refugee. It certainly caused quite a stir back then. Apparently, they'd invited businessmen and socialites everywhere, in the guise of it being some big business announcement.
$2.5 million and an expensive-looking party to boot. These people sure know how to throw their money around.
And double checking. Yep, my audio's recording. Yay. Not that I should be so callous. They're going to do a lot of good and help a community of people with all those pounds. I, of all people, shouldn't criticize such acts, whether they're for show or not. At the very least, I know they'll be able to pay my rates. With the headline out of the way, however, I found myself staring at the picture that came along with the clipping. Because, wow, here I am, expecting a sour old woman in a blazer and skirt. But the woman that was plastered on the front page looked like she belonged to the front page of an entertainment section, or even, if I'm to be crass, as the pin-up for a glamour. Okay, I'll be real here. A men's magazine. She sure knows how to rock that dress. Wait. Her hair, her eyes, her lips. She can't be her. And at the same time, she is her, only several years older. She just looks like... No, come on, Mac. The world is full of pretty blondes. It's just a coincidence. Ooh? With a shake of my head, I snap out of it and reach for my phone when it buzzes, nearly falling off my chair in the process. Who else would be on the other line but the very people waiting for me?
Oh, piss. I'm so sorry, Cam. I'm on my way.
That's what I say. Yet I still don't move from my chair, face flushed and heart racing. I can only stare until I can will myself to reply that yes, I'm accepting the assignment. And it takes even more time for me to just close the image, shut down the computer, and leave. Even then, it has already burned its image into my head, no matter how much I wish it would just disappear. It makes me eager for the alcohol in the company. It makes me eager for anything that can help me forget. It's a good thing that the nearest pub is just a hop, skip, and a jump from here. The Galway Shawl, as it's called upon those who frequented the place, is the only decent Irish pub in this county. You can pretty much tell that someone is new if they call it by its official name, the Crawl Bar. My home away from home ever since I've moved to Luxburn. Well, that is when I'm not cooped up in my condo and working anyway. It has good alcohol, good company, and, thank God and Saint Cecilia, good music. Crowd favorites like the Bothy Noise, the High Wesleyan, and Second Fusion Orchestra are often played. Wesleyan, man. Bleh. Not to mention the singing. I love singing. Anyone could just break out into a drinking song, and the others in the pub were just wonderful that they'd start singing along. And doing so while intoxicated is the best ways to go about it. Hey, it's a win-win as long as I don't puke in the middle of the chorus, and as long as I can get home in one piece at the end of the day. And tonight is karaoke night. What better time than to try and sing all my worries away? That's what my intoxicated brain tells me.
The ghost of guilt and sorrow remembers who I am, and in the prison of my heart, I was my only slave.
But drinking only reminds me of my home, and the thought of home makes me think of her.
But in the depths of my cold soul, I'll leave the burden and despair.
It makes me nauseous. It sickens me that the smallest reminder of her can cause me such grief.
I'll fight for what's worth fighting for. Forget the fear, forget the rest.
Can I get like a full-length version of this person singing? Because I would happily listen to this over and over. Damn. Of course, that might just be the booze. Any other day, I would have scolded myself for drinking so much.
I lied to the Lord, I lied to myself, I lied to you and everyone I care, until there were no more lies to tell.
But I already have a client, and we'll be having our first little meet and greet in a few days.
Cowardice is easier than being brave, but at last I found the strength I lost to sing my love letter to you. 'Cause people can lie, but my lone heart beats true.
I want to at least let myself enjoy this night, get over the hangover tomorrow, and return to being a prim and proper professional after.
That song was for Cam, our lucky bride-to-be. So give her a hand, Galway Shawl.
Considering the state I'm in, one can excuse my smug grin as cheers and applause rise among the pub's patrons. Because, possibly off-key public singing aside, I feel like I'm on top of the world right now, and that's a good reason as any to belt out in front of these strangers. With good drinks and good friends, there's nowhere else I'd rather be tonight. And I forget for a short while.
And that song was brought to you by Marianne McCullough, everyone! A round of applause!
That was so good. You rock, Marianne. Oh, please stop. You're just saying that.
Shut up, you're
You
wonderful.
know neither of us can hold a tune, Marianne. A toast to our shameless drunk singer. May your drinks forever flow and your notes be ever lovely.
If anyone deserves a toast tonight, that's Cam. Finally sealed the deal after 3 years, eh? Read 'em and wait, bitches.
Kamala's diamond engagement ring gleams as she holds it up for all the world to see. She has reasons to be proud. 3 years of living together, and her boyfriend finally asked her the big question. Obviously, she said yes.
Don't get too attached to that ring or the one after, sweetie. I was wearing a wedding ring not so long ago, and look at where I am. But enough of me being a downer. Cheers to a happy engagement!
Of course, if something like Haruna's divorce were to happen, I'd be there for Cam. Just as Cam had been there for me, acting more than just my yoga instructor. I can't be happier for my friend right now.
Cheers! Cheers.
Well, we both will be there for Cam, won't we? Haruna and I. Haruna. It's been a really bad year for her ever since her divorce. She's such a nice person, even loaning me money to open a studio, and she didn't deserve what her husband had pulled. I'm happy she's smiling again and pigging out like she used to. I think we've all missed our Japanese firecracker. We met in yoga class, something I joined to keep myself in shape, and, well, honestly, so that I could make friends when I had moved to Luxburn. Clearly, it worked like a charm. And it definitely didn't have anything to do with the fact that I brought along my lucky D20 die with me on the first day. No, sir. Oh my god, are you a D&D nerd? I love you. I love these girls so much.
What about you, Marianne? You're 30 years old and you still haven't got yourself a man. And you guys know I have a very busy schedule. I don't have time for that.
Oh, come on! That's a lame excuse and you know it! You need a man who'll take care of you and you need it now! Maybe some hunk who'll be your house hubby while you rake in the dough.
I'm quite capable of taking care of myself. Who needs a Mr. Right? Hey, look at me, I'm Marian McCullough, a lawful neutral cleric with 9 points in wisdom and 8 in charisma, but I can't get myself a date.
I mentioned druids and demons once. Once! They don't even know the rules or understand what the numbers mean. And I certainly am not some sort of holy person. I'm a far cry from a miracle worker, and I barely have the willpower to fight off demons, especially my own.
Actually, maybe she isn't looking for a Mr. Right, but a Mrs. Right. Oh, my Marianne, we still love you even if you're in the closet.
That would explain some things. Howdy now, you don't have a ring anymore. Maybe you two can be together and I don't have to worry about my best girls being alone. What are you on about? There's nothing to explain.
But the more I deny, the louder they tease until the other people in the pub start to watch. It doesn't help at all when Haruna drapes her arm over my shoulders and leans in.
Will I be all yours then? Will you be making me feel like a woman?
I know that they're just kidding around, but this doesn't make me comfortable in the slightest. So when Kamala takes notice of my silence and Haruna sees the expression in my face, they stop. And when the awkward air settles over us, the rest of the pub goes back to whatever they were doing before the whole thing ever happened. They probably won't even remember it when they wake up with massive hangovers anyway.
Sorry.
Me too.
Hey, no hard feelings, right?
I raise my glass. They smile. We drink. There's no need to say more. We're all definitely far too drunk tonight. Eventually, the fun times end. It's a weekday after all. And with Haruna being a nurse, she still has to get ready for her next shift. Damn. Cam also has a loving fiancé waiting for her at home, and really didn't have to make a fuss about having left some buns in the oven when she took off early. Really, I understand. I was the one who insisted, who was determined to get pissed drunk anyway. Moving to the bar, I sit. Alone at last. Alone with a Okay, hang on. So this is the 18th. Was this the day of the party? No. That was the day before. with a stranger. I haven't seen him here before. Obviously not a regular. He hasn't said a word and just sits there, savoring his drink. With his whiskey served neat in one hand and lighter in the other, it doesn't seem like he's noticed me yet, and maybe I should go before he does look my way. Because he was very pretty, and he was blonde, and those two things plus alcohol never did me any good. I thought too late. Judging by the way his flushed face and dazed look at his eyes, he's as piss drunk as I am. But whereas I feel like keeling over, he looks like he's ready to go take the catwalk by storm. Really, he just has the air of one of those men who think they own the world.
Hello there, sexy. Please don't stand up on my account. I already like what I see.
Oh no.
Fancy a drink? It'll be on me.
Oh no. But then again, I might be pleasantly surprised if he proves me wrong.
Want some between the sheets? Sex on the beach? I'm talking cocktails, of course.
Fat chance. But it doesn't matter. We both know how to play this game. And there are two different ways for the night to end. One thing or another is going to happen. The question is, what do I want to do?
Oh no, that's fine. I'd rather order some blue balls or some AMF if you don't mind.
He looks like he's about to say some witty retort, but stops himself and downs the rest of his whiskey. I order a mint julep, I think that's how it's pronounced, I don't know. And he gets another whiskey, and we start the customary small talk. Of course, the saying, ask me no questions and I'll tell you no lies, goes without saying. We ask nothing about each other, offering up falsehoods to establish a strenuous, fake connection between two strangers at a pub, if only to pass the time. Whiskey, as I've come to call him, is supposedly 21 years old, single, takes care of a sick mother, and is a manager of some sort. Manager of what? I don't care to listen to the details. Meanwhile, Mint, as he's come to call me, is 29, and I'm... What did I say I was again? Oh yes, I told him that I was a professional chocolate taster, because, fuck it, if I'm going to lie about what my job is, might as well make it fun. It's a pretty decent chat between two pretty drunk strangers. And maybe it's just me, but we might as fucking well expend the tiniest amount of effort in pretending there's something meaningful in this meeting. Would have been nice too, if it was just left at that. But during a lull in the conversation, he brings it up.
You know, I've never been with a woman taller than me.
You... And to think he might have been different from the rest.
Never have and never will, whiskey. Can we go back to the history of chocolates? Did you know that chocolate candy was introduced in 19th century England as a healthier alternative to alcohol?
St. Lucy was the most beautiful woman of her time. She had men come from the four corners of the world just to see the pure light in her exquisite green eyes. If she were so lucky, anyway.
No, enough of the history lesson. Come on, Mint. You know and I know what you came here for.
Ew. Ew. Though not every suitor was gallant, and she was no fool, she had known that sooner or later she wouldn't be able to defend her chastity.
Come on. There must be something that gets you going.
Ew. So she had taken out a knife and gouged out her own eyes.
There is something, but I don't think you can handle it.
Impressed with her devotion, God restored her eyes and made them beautiful, more beautiful than before. He has a peculiar sense of humor, hasn't he? Because that only meant suitors kept going after Lucy, and she kept her eyes in a chalice to scare them away.
Oh, I'm pretty sure I can handle whatever it is.
Ew. St. Lucy, help me. Help me turn away from sin. Help me with my own blindness.
My place isn't too far from here. I won't take care of you if it ends up being too much for you. And no one will be able to hear you if you try to scream. You sure you want to go down that road, pretty boy?
Oh, goodness, no.
Wouldn't have it any other way.
Like, I don't blame Marianne in this situation because she doesn't know, but ew! Why is Luke so gross? The best thing about having my condo so close to the pub is ease of access. As long as I can stand and walk, I can make it home. Maybe I'd need help from a kind neighbor or two to help me with the last leg if I've really gone overboard on the alcohol. But I always made it home. Sometimes with company. Of course, that always comes with complications, especially the real clingy ones. But it isn't anything a good tip about stalkers to the building security can't fix. I'm always nervous, though, even if it isn't the first time I've done this. And the first few minutes when we enter my room are the first few agonizing minutes where I try not to panic. Okay, Mac. So far, so good. Don't let him smell your fear under all that liquid courage. He'll leave sooner or later, and I'll never have to see him again, just like every other man before him. Bet. I'd like to say to myself that the men I brought to my place were more scared than I was. Yet there's no fear when I look into Whiskey's eyes. Only delight. When he starts touching me, I don't even hesitate when I push him against the door. Roughness is to be expected. And as long as he sticks to the script, everything will go smoothly. We'll have our little tumble in the sheets, he'll leave, we'll forget about it. If somebody asked what I really wanted, I would have told him that I would want a bed of roses, chocolates, and music. Maybe an Irish castle. But all I really wanted is her, and that's never going to be a reality. That was my fault, of course. Because I was afraid. Because I was a coward. They would never hold a candle up to her. She was the light of my life. And I had let her go. I can't even be bothered at the thought of her. Just the single thought of her makes my resolve to see this affair through waver.
Wait.
What is it now?
Yes, what is it now? What is it going to be, Marianne? Sex or not to sex? Fucking criminy. Oh, I don't like this.
Nothing. Never mind.
Oh, that got minus points in Lukedom. Okay. Load. Boink.
We're both drunk.
Wow, that got me a lot of points. Oh,
And?
This is wrong.
Hold on, I just noticed something. Hold on. I can't see her fucking full thing. I don't see a wedding ring on him at all, and I didn't actually pay attention to if, Hana. I didn't pay attention if her sprite character model thing actually had one, but he's not wearing one in this model. Oh.
Don't you think it's a bit fucked up that we're about to have sex and we're just calling each other by the drinks that we had? How messed up are we?
Doll, shut up with the ethics and morality talk. It is seriously putting me out of the mood.
If you want to leave now, Whiskey, I understand. I mean, with how smashed you are, it'd probably be best for you to sleep the night unless you want to be mugged. But I won't stop you. And this isn't going to happen.
Bloody hell.
Of course, he's annoyed at me for putting up for our night of sexual congress. But no means no. And beyond spewing a few profanities under his breath, he surprisingly simmers down soon enough. I was worried for a moment that he might try to force something. Instead, he makes a show of fixing his suit and smoothing down his hair before making himself comfortable the nearest seat he could find.
What are you doing then? You have a guest in your home. Put the damn kettle on. Dandelion tea if you have it. But I suppose all you have are those shitty tea bags from the store.
What a... He's so nasty! If it isn't for the absurdity of this turn of events, I would have flipped him off for thinking I have no taste. But in the end, I just laugh. All I got are cans of Korean ginseng and lemon balm, though. No dandelion. Without a second thought, I do wet the tea. That's 3 minutes to get the kettle to a boil. 3 minutes where we say nothing to each other. I mean, what do you even say to the guy I was going to sleep with until I changed my mind? I doubt he's in the mood to talk after the influence of Troyes on Mallory. It's still unusual by the time we're both seated on my bed, with mugs and tea in hand.
Just so you know, whatever is going on right now is a lot stranger and fucked up than the one night stand.
We are two messed up individuals by your logic.
Everything is messed up, if you ask me. War, terrorism, famine, poverty. Loved ones and loved lost. Oh. This whole world is a cesspool.
The dead air is telling me when it fills the room once more. One would think that this is the perfect time to burst, to spill about whatever issues that made us fucked up and made us the fucked up person we are today. And it is. But I guess some part of me would rather not put the weight of my problems on somebody else's shoulder. It wouldn't be fair to leave that to a person when I don't even know if we'll ever see each other again. Sooner rather than later, we both pass out in my bed, mugs left forgotten on the floor. When I wake, whiskey is already gone. Oh, no. A bottle of painkillers and a note on the table are the only evidence that I wasn't alone last night. I don't even question where these are from, or just how he knew my real name. I'm just grateful for something to help with the hangover. Might as well. I have a job to do. Okay, so the 22nd. What has happened? Okay, the 21st was Isabella stuff. Okay, so the 21st was the open house then. Signing paperwork. Where am I at? Oh shit. What did it say? Did it say I'm on the 22nd? Fuck, I already forgot. Or did it say the 23rd? Maybe it said the 23rd. Hang on. Did it say the 20th? Fuck, I don't know. It isn't often that I think about drinking on the job. Oh wait, does it tell me on the backlog? No. But after meeting with the Wrights yesterday, it really makes me want to break my self-imposed rules. Because, first off, fucking damn whiskey was fucking damn Mr. Wright. And to top it all off, they had somehow forgotten to inform me that they didn't own the Emmergarn Mansion yet when they hired me. What sort of person does that?
Ugh, rich people.
I could do nothing but twiddle my thumbs at this, however. Twiddle my thumbs and wait for the go signal. It's not like I can accept other smaller projects. This is a big job and I should be ready to start on it at any time. Not to mention that my PA practically begged me to be patient and wait this one out. It's a hard decision to agree, but I did so in the end. Besides, I'm doing this for the Ermengarde Mansion, not for anything or anyone else. I'd have a headache for whatever I do anyway. I'd go to the pub again, but seeing what happened a few days ago, I'd rather not end up in bed with another potential client. And it might be a huge leap in logic, but a library is the next best thing after the pub. I have to go there anyway. I need more books for Dad. Plus, I also need to return the ones I borrowed last time. Finding a new book or two to read for myself while I have nothing to do isn't such a bad idea either. So, on a Saturday morning, I found myself going to the only pub in Luxburn to, hopefully, cool off. Does it tell me the days? Saturday. So, the 22nd. Okay, so, yeah, day after the mansion. And they got the paperwork. After turning an Urzul and a poetry book by Henry of Podebrady, I asked the librarian about the several titles on my list, though I don't have much luck on that front. Dialogue with Death has already been snatched, and she bluntly said that she did not keep our mathematical universe for someone who didn't return books on time. I made headway, at least, when I asked about Siege and Rendition of Havana by Jacobo de Pezuela. If you can count her snarling and pointing at the history section as headway, that is. The history section is devoid of any other except myself and a redhead, though I'd wager a guess that Red's just passing by to get through the classic literature section. So many books, so little time. Scanning the books and seeing so many wonderful titles gives me great pleasure. and that's when I spot it.
Hello, sailor. Why don't you come to Mama?
It's not the naval battle book I was looking for. No, it's even better. The newly acquired History of Luxburn Architecture, first edition too. I know I just have to get it. I've been waiting to get my hands on this book for so long. The fact that there's only one copy proves to be a problem though, when Red reaches out for it at the same time as I do.
I think I had this first, miss.
I can only stare her down when she refuses to let go of the book. I'm pretty sure that Marianne had a hold of it first, but whatever. Refusing to let go of it as well, I raise a brow at her in hopes of the fact that I was significantly taller than her would intimidate the girl. Even then, she refused with a rebellious look.
This isn't exactly light reading, miss. I mean, do you even know which architect was at the forefront of 18th century Irish architecture?
A beat. She blinks and I can't help the smirk on my face, which is wiped off when she opens her mouth.
Edward Lovett Pierce, who established the Palladian style through his work with Castletown House and Irish Houses of Parliament.
Damn.
This bridge was destroyed in this year to delay French troops while under the regency of Mary of Guise.
This is not what I was expecting. Let's be honest, how many people would actually know these history facts? Aside from me, anyway.
Going right to the obscure ones, aren't you? Easy enough. Tullybody Old Bridge in Clackmannanshire, Scotland, on the January of 1560, if we want to be specific.
Suddenly, it's a game where we throw these history questions and facts at each other, back and forth in hushed tones unless we want to be thrown out of the library. After a while, it goes from some strange competition into this strange but friendly banter, if it could be called that. But as fun as it is, the exchange soon slows down until we're grinning at how odd this whole scene is.
Marianne McCulloch, my desire for potatoes doesn't quite match what the stereotypes suggest.
Rebecca Gales, the Scots' supposed hatred for the English wasn't enough to stop me from teaching their little spawns.
By then, we had forgotten about our little tug-of-war, although she still holds the book in her hands. I had let go of it without realizing it when she answered my first question.
History teacher, then?
Got it in one.
No wonder you gave me a run for my money. Now, if we're talking about architecture, I'd blow you out of the water. You're from where? Luxburn Uni?
Oh no, just St. Goretti's.
Goretti's. Ah yes, Saint Goretti. You'd think a school would choose a more appropriate saint to name themselves after, especially when they have very young students.
And I'm guessing you're an architect, if you're so confident about the subject.
Interior designer, Miss Gales.
Please, just call me Rebecca. You aren't one of my students, are you?
Marianne, then.
I could have said that I was an architect, but there's no point in explaining why I wasn't one anymore.
So, I've never seen you before. I'd like to think I've met every history aficionado in town.
I blame the rock I've been hiding under, of course. That, and I'm usually only here on the weekdays if time allows. Work often has me meeting clients on the weekends.
Mood.
That must be interesting work.
It allows for some creative freedom, sure. But it's like working with children sometimes. Though you probably have it harder working with actual children.
I don't know. Because at least with the tiny hellspawns, you understand that they're not fully developed. So, you know, the way they act, like, just whatever. Like, their brain's not fully developed, whereas adults have fully developed brains, so they shouldn't be acting necessarily like unruly children or spoiled brats or whatever. Alas, here we are.
The hardest part is convincing them that your idea is their idea.
Like that.
That sounds exciting.
It is!
But isn't that true for any workplace, though? We just cross our fingers and hope there aren't any man-children in charge of important things. Any big projects right now? I can't imagine that interior designing is a frequent thing.
I'm working on the Ermengarde mansion. Lucky me. That mansion. Intach. Wonderful. Breathtaking. I can't wait to start in it. Now that is beautiful architecture.
A pause. It looks like she wants to say something at my mention of the house. I'm not surprised. The place is certainly popular with the locals, especially with the urban legends attached to it. In the next second, though, She seems to think better of it and drops what she's about to say.
So, do you have a portfolio or anything I can take a look at? I'd love to see your designs. I've met some designers before, and they're always going crazy over these virtual room apps or another.
A tablet? Please. Callicrates didn't need those silly iTabs when he built the Parthenon. I certainly don't need one to design a house.
The computer back at my place is all I have. Why should I buy such an expensive gadget that will just get outdated within the year when what I have is just as functional? The traditional way is a far more personal touch, in my opinion. Not to mention, those smartphones are awful tools of procrastination. I can't say fucking much. My phone is definitely used as a tool for procrastination. I can't even count on one hand the number of people I see going outside only to have their eyes glued to the things. And fuck touchscreens. They're evil things that make typing what should have been a simple task harder. I disagree with this one. I like touchscreens.
I do have an online portfolio if you'd like. I can...
Speaking, or thinking of the devil seems to have summoned it because before I can even carry on, Rebecca's attention wanes as she pulls out her mobile. For what I can only assume is a call, she gives me an apologetic look before she's standing up and excusing herself. Off farther to the aisles she goes, for some privacy. I do my best to give it to her as well, trying to tune her out.
Belle, is something wrong? Lunch at the coffee house? Sure, I can make it. I'm not too far, I can be there in 10.
But with how quiet the surrounding is, she can't blame me if I overhear snippets of her conversation. When she returns with a sheepish look on her face, I know that our friendly chat has to be cut short.
Sorry, I have to go and meet with some friends.
It's fine. Totally fine. No need to even apologize.
About the book.
Her embarrassment is increased twofold when she realizes she's still holding on to history of Luxburn architecture. I don't give her time to think about it, as I put a hand up and shake my head. Fishing out a pen and paper from my bag, along with one of my business cards, I hand them over to her.
You know, I'm busy with work, so I might not even be able to take a peek at it anytime soon. You can go ahead and have it. But you'll have to ring me up when you're returning it just so I can snag it right away. Deal?
She makes quick work, penning her number down and handing it back to me with a grin.
Deal. Just message me during school hours, of course. You have a good day then.
You too.
With Rebecca gone, I'm left alone standing in the history section. Although my original plan was simply to sit down and read a good book, a little pop quiz, if you could call it that, made the time pass by without any of us even realizing it. It was fun, and I do believe I made a new friend. Good job, Marianne. Even with the talk of lunch, however, I don't feel like grabbing a bite to eat. There are still other books to be read here, and I'm hoping to find something that will help me while I work with the rights. Something like How to Deal with Arseholes Professionally 101, just in case. I've dealt with a lot of uppity, snooty, and rich clients before, but it's still better to be on the safe than sorry. Because Luke Wright just takes the fucking cake. And he probably manages to eat it too. It seems the world is conspiring to keep me from my me time, as my mobile vibrates in my pockets the moment I find something from the shelves of the classic literature section.
Marianne McCulloch, Charlie Rose Design speaking.
Rose Cooper here, Miss McCullough. I hope I didn't catch you at a bad time or anything. But I just wanted to check in and tell you that we've got the clear to hand over the documents. Madam Wright told us that we should forward the floor plans to you.
Already? How did they go through the process so fast? Surely, there's so many red tape to even acquire the forms and transferring of rights. No matter how rich the rights are, it shouldn't be this quick. Right?
So, if I can just have your email, I'll be sending them your way.
I'd actually like a physical copy of the floor plans.
Oh, I suppose that's fine. I'm not at the office right now, but I can inform Miss Santos of your request.
I'll make sure to drop by the office after lunch if that's fine.
Not a problem. Right. Well, cheers.
Right. Cheers.
I don't know. I just don't. Is there some sort of deeper miscommunication when we last met? These things take time. It's been, what, a day? Less than that even. There isn't even any point in trying to make sense of these people who seem to be larger than life. As it looks like I'm on the clock starting today, I might as well eat. Grabbing some fish and chips from one of the street food stalls, I find a table to spend time with a copy of Marquis de Sade's Crime of Love, since Rebecca left with the book I wanted. I've read this one before, along with the rest of his works. This would be the 18th time, in fact. Oh, mood, I have like a few of those books. Not like those books specifically, like books I've read like numerous times. But it's always nice to read through it again, when I don't have the time to enjoy something new. And besides, when you're dealing with people so filthy rich that they just end up plain filthy, you need the good old Marquis sound advice.
La blessure se trouvant sans aucune sorte de conséquence.
The wound being without any consequence. Of course, it's folly to think that things have no consequence when everything actually does. Briar Realty Corporation's Luxburn branch isn't too far off from the city center, just a few blocks away, and I can easily eat and walk. I'd rather use this time to rest before I go into a flurry of activity. No doubt there'll be so much to do once we get hands on the with the mansion.
Still a lot better than working on another condo, at least.
Surely, no matter how much BRC and the old owners put into the restoration and preservation of the place, any big repairs would be superficial at most. I am quite certain that, in their haste to sell the property, they did a rush job. It isn't any infrequent thing to do, despite how it is frowned upon. There will certainly be a lot of hidden issues that I'll need to weed out, and I'll have to make sure I find every single one of them, especially the more serious damages. Structural integrity is definitely on the top of the list we will have to consider. The building might look sturdy, but it is centuries old. That alone will likely pose a few problems here and there, put limitations on what we can do. Besides, despite how much I detest these rich snobs, they can pay rather handsomely, as long as I do an excellent job and do more than necessary. Those two things always make sure the referrals keep coming. I don't even have to hunt down projects for myself. When I do go up to the BRC's office, I can't but stop and stare when I enter the building. With the lunch hour closing, employees should have been back already, if they aren't still filtering through the doors. I get that it's a Saturday, that people probably feel tired and lazy to be working on a weekend. But they're still on the clock, not bumming about wasting company time on extended lunch breaks and cigarette sessions. The office is spacious, as it is with these big corporations. Each person is given their own little space of what's usually a 2x2 meter cubicle. There's a lot more empty chairs than there are actual people working on their desks. At their desks. It reminds me far too much of my last day at Poriskova Projects, during the massive layoffs due to the Irish economics crisis. But it isn't just that, though. Everything is as quiet as the grave. It's as if these people were merely ghosts. Speaking of ghosts, Santos comes in through the door, looking as if she just seen one. She looks at me, wide-eyed like a deer caught in headlights, ready to bolt at any moment. I'd ask, out of concern, but I feel it's not in my position to do so. What if it's something personal? I'd simply be overstepping my boundaries. Really, it's none of my business.
I presume that Miss Cooper told you why I'm here, Miss Santos?
Is this when you saw Spooky? It is when you saw Spooky, I think. Spooky! Okay.
Huh? Oh, yeah. Sorry, I just got back from lunch, you know? But it won't take too long. Don't worry.
Of course it won't. This whole project has established itself to be a matter done in haste. I do hope it doesn't mean that people are being careless in their duties.
She flinches and looks like she doesn't quite know how to respond to that. Thankfully, instead of opening her mouth, she leads the way toward her station and goes to fetch the floor plans. It won't take too long, as she said, but it does take a bit. Time spent to compose herself, most likely.
You know, we usually just email these things.
I prefer the real thing.
Not that you would know. You probably have your nose stuck in front of a smartphone when you're not working, and even when you should be working, playing those mindless, addictive games. I definitely wish Chris would stop playing the Bat-Cat thingy during work hours, too.
I know what you mean. Digital painting is nice, but nothing beats the smell of real paint. Not that I go and smell paint like a crazy person, but, you know, the real thing is different.
Wait, what?
Yes, nothing is quite like the real thing.
Checking at the floor plans, I see that I'll have a lot going for me. Now I know how Ray felt when he found the Central Park West building floor plans from that one movie. This is why I became an architect in the first place. Jacobean style at its finest. It's a thing of beauty. Look at those gorgeous rooms, the delicate harmony between empty spaces. And speaking of empty spaces, there's something rather odd about these. about these
I feel a
ones.
bit silly saying it out loud because I've never lived in a big house, let alone a mansion. But during the tour, I had the distinct impression that the rooms were bigger. Maybe the scale is wrong? It's not much of a problem, and it is an old house.
There have been little details here and there that I would like to address during the open house too. But it was all forgotten in the wake of Miss Santos' incident and the trouble with ownership. The wine cellar is going to be a problem. I shudder to think what sort of repairs they did to the place. There might have been things that were swept under the rug, pushed to the dark corner of the rooms, and hidden away in barrels. Water damage could have been covered up. There had been floods due to heavy rains in West England last year, after all, and if there's any sort of damage to the house's foundation, that's going to be a lot of work. I was not able to look at the attic as well. For all I know, a whole family of vermin could have made their nest there. Working with pest control is always the worst. The sheer size of this place is staggering, even if I did just say it was a lot smaller than I thought. I might just be biting off more than I can chew, but who doesn't love a good challenge? First things first, I'll have to...
So, do you want a coffee? The one from the staff room is pretty decent.
There's really no need. I'm sure you have rules against it.
Rules against bringing someone coffee? That's ridiculous. And even if there were regulations against it, nobody's really here to tell Sir John. I've already brought 2 mugs, and I'm not going to drink them on my own. Come on.
I have to stamp down my annoyance at being distracted. Seeing the girl, the young woman though, it looks like she has a lot on her mind. If babbling her is her way of dealing with stray thoughts, I'm not really the one she should be babbling to. How should I respond? Yes! Full points! Hello. Yes, finally my full bar. I don't know if this is... I'm hoping this is good, but... I feel like I've already fucked up their whole relationship thingy-babobber. I give her time to speak up, but when she just stares, I clear my throat.
Yes? You have something to say?
As embarrassment creeps up on her face, I snatch one of the coffees from her and take a sip. Too hot.
Just thinking and speaking off the record, it must be fun what you do. You go to people's houses and you make them, well, pretty. You're sharing your art with them.
It's a little bit more complex than that. But if you put it that way, it is fun. I wouldn't have done it for 7 years if it wasn't a little bit fun, I guess.
These big clients always have paintings in their homes. Do you have a supplier for art pieces?
I didn't expect to hear such a question from her, seeing how well she handled herself yesterday. I didn't doubt, then, why she was assigned to an important sale like the Ermengarde mansion, despite the little accident she had. Now, she just looks too young, too nervous, and unsure of herself, although her enthusiasm must make up for that in spades. In fact, I wouldn't have believed it if she had introduced herself the way she is at the moment. Why, watching her now, she actually looks like she should still be in college. Acts a bit like it, too, when I think about it. I thought she was a teen slumming it out in the mansion when I first saw her there, lying on the ground. Surprise, surprise, she turns to be one of the estate's agents handling the property.
The clients usually support artists of their own choice. If they don't, I'm always happy to refer those that I know.
That's cool.
They're very picky. I don't think a hobbyist will have an easy time getting their work sold.
Hey, I'll have you know I was a student of the fine arts.
And yet, here you are, selling property. Maybe you weren't a very fine student of the arts.
Maybe I took that a bit too far. She bites her cheek, and it looks like she's barely holding herself back.
It's not like I had a choice.
She mutters it under her breath. I barely even hear it. But the hurt is there. And it makes one wonder what brought it on. Although it is understandable, if her reason's what I think it is, very few people make it big in the art world. I can see why she'd be upset about it, with that enthusiasm. I didn't have a choice when I left Ireland. It was that or years of unemployment. The recession and the toll it took on the construction industry was out of anyone's control. I don't know what choice she wasn't able to make, whether it was about her being in art school or something else. But the world isn't a fair place. And the sooner she accepts it, the better. Still, with that forlorn look on her face, I can't help but sigh. The girl reminds me far too much of myself when I was younger.
Well, if you're thinking of commissioning your paintings, I'll have to see your work first.
Oh, it's not... I didn't mean it like that. I don't have any paintings.
Really? You sounded a lot like you still did art or want to. Now I'm starting to worry that you might just like the smell of paint.
I'm not a paint huffer, sheesh. I just mean I don't make much anymore. I don't really have the time for it. The tools and materials aren't exactly cheap either.
Everything has a price. It sounds like you're making excuses for something you're presumably passionate about. If you really want to practice art, a little out of your wallet isn't much.
It's not that simple.
It's not. Life's simple. People just like to make it complex. Speaking off the record, I have some advice for you, kid. Either go for what you want, or stop thinking about it when you have something else. That is unless you enjoy making yourself miserable, then by all means.
You know, if you wanted to look at the floor plans without me bothering you, you could have just said so.
Would you have left me alone?
We'll never know now, will we?
A strained air settles in the room afterwards. It doesn't help that she doesn't immediately leave as she had said, lingering awkwardly by the door with that downcast expression. It's clear there's more she meant to say, perhaps even defend herself in her choices in life. Or is she expecting me to dish out more of that advice? It's an awkward affair, and I choose to hightail out of the realty office as quickly as I can. Though I am able to keep myself professional at all times doesn't mean I like it. And seeing that most of the day has already gone by before I realized it, I chose to head back to my flat instead. Despite today being a Saturday. No fun, but at least this way, I can avoid another unpleasant encounter. Considering how much I'll be seeing whiskey in the near foreseeable future, I have a feeling I'll need all the rest this weekend can give me. For the first time in a long while, excited as I am to work on the mansion, I cannot wait to be over and done with this project. Okay, the 24th. This was... yeah, okay. The death of Rose, or whatever. Like, technically that happened, like, the night before, but, like... Monday couldn't come any sooner. And after taking the floor plans from Miss Santos the day before the last, I spent most of the Sunday drawing up plans and calling in my suppliers. Although no design choices have been made yet, I'm quite sure that they'd want high-end appliances, the most expensive materials, and the most pretentious everything. They usually did, these rich types, based from experience at least. Given how badly this whole thing started, it wouldn't hurt to be prepared. I have to check myself, make sure I'm not playing with my gloves as one of the other building tenants takes the elevator with me. It makes me self-conscious when the woman's eyes go over to me, and I'm sure she was going to point out some perceived flaw in my physical appearance. But I'm safe from being paranoid when they went off a few floors later. Still, the ride up to my floor is nerve-wracking. The Wrights lived at the very top, the penthouse, the creme de la creme when it comes to the condominium and urban living. And just getting access to the place is an ordeal of its own. I had to jump so many hoops, so many security checks, just to secure a key card, not only because of the building management, but because of the Wrights' personal security. It sometimes feels like I'm being interrogated for the crime, and not visiting a client at their home. Even when their personal assistant called in to help out and verify my presence, the process is aggravated rather than hastened. Speaking of the devil... The elevator doors open, and I am greeted by none other than Whiskey's not-so-little lackey.
I do apologize if I kept Mr. and Mrs. Wright waiting, but I'm here now and I'm ready, so if I may, where are they?
They've just woken up, but they should be down soon. I'm surprised to see you made it through security. And only 5 minutes late.
You said I'd be through security soon, and it took half an hour. Define soon in this context.
I'd make myself comfortable if I were you. I'm going to go and put the kettle on.
So, she's 5 minutes late. They only just woke up? What the shit?
About the tea, I don't want to intrude or anything.
The sir does not like being woken up by the whistling. But who am I to deny tea to a guest?
He shows me to the couch before drifting off towards the kitchen, quietly pulling out a teapot, cups, and all sorts of other things in preparation for tea. I ignore the animosity towards his employer that his words implied. I wouldn't be too surprised if Whiskey's own people don't like him. Accepting the quiet isolation instead, I brace myself for what's to come. In this case, soon apparently means more than 5 minutes, or even 10. I sit in their living room, just waiting. And when the kettle starts whistling and the tea has been served, I continue to wait. At least the silence is relaxing. But then, there's a crash. I nearly spilled tea all over my lap in surprise, and I look up expecting security to come running. Even the man at the kitchen counter continues to fix breakfast like he heard nothing. I don't want to speak up about it because he looks far too absorbed in his cooking, and I don't want to be the cause of burnt food or worse. However, there's just something in me that wants to figure out what that was, although I am not normally this nosy. I feel like this is going to be a story choice and not a enjoying thing. Oh man, I'm so curious, but I don't want to find out. Cause it's either going to be like some kind of issue with the rights, or it's going to be Ghost Girl. Shit. I think for the sake of my sanity, I'm gonna have to do with continue waiting. I have no business with it. These rich people usually value their privacy above all else, after all. Unless, of course, they're posting pictures on social media, bragging about what good people they are for allowing themselves to be interviewed for some magazine. Then again, the whole reason I'm in this mess is because I didn't give two shits about what goes on with people like them. And I'm not going to get caught snooping about and be accused of some imagined wrongdoing. I'm not going to be some busybody, detective wannabe, run off to investigate. Whatever that was. It's probably just something mundane anyway, like a lamp falling over. I'm going to just sit here and wait for Mrs. Wright. With my tea. In complete silence.
Could I at least put the telly on?
I don't really expect him to answer. If he hadn't heard the crash, I doubt he would have heard me.
As long as you don't watch some silly soap opera, the LBC News would be fine. The William Walker show is on too if you prefer that. Not that I watch it, but my husband does. The remote is under the coffee table.
Oh, sure. Maybe I'll be lucky and catch the doc on. I heard they're having reruns of the classics, and I want to see the second meet sixth in Spain. If not, just the news then.
Is this a reference to Doctor Who?
Thank you. I'll let you get on with your cooking now.
Did he just ignore the crash a while ago then? Whatever. Or it could just be only you perceive it because it was Ghost Girl. Fetching the remote, I turned the TV on in hopes of filling the silence. Trying to anyway, because the thing won't turn on. And doesn't that make the silence more awkward or what? I know I might not be the best with tech, but I'm sure I can work a simple television remote.
The batteries must be dead.
Hi. Well, I guess I get to encounter you one way or another, don't I? What? There's blood everywhere. Help me, it says in red. I look at my own hands and find them clean, yet I can see my grisly reflection gaping back at me. Although there's nothing staining my skin, I can feel the sticky and warm feeling of blood dripping down my cheeks. I should be worried. Instead, I feel my attention drawn towards her. Her beautiful blonde hair, her soft lips with skin so fair and swaying hips. I want nothing more than to hold her, plant my lips on her neck, and to run my fingers through her hair. She laughs and she smiles when she looks at me, but where are her eyes? Temptation is gone in an instant as I recoil, horrified at this reflection I am seeing. Only to back into something, or rather someone. Oh no. Hi. Mrs. Wright stands there, twirling a lock of her blonde hair, a soft smile on her lips and a hand on her hip. I almost back away, but I ground myself and remind myself that this is my client. And whatever I just saw, well, it wouldn't be so far-fetched to say that perhaps I'm going a bit daft. It would be preferable, of course, to think that it was all the trick of the light, or the makings of an overactive imagination.
Good morning, Mrs. Wright. I'm sorry, I didn't see you. Have you been standing there long?
No, I just came down and saw you were having a hard time with the telly. We must have forgotten to change the batteries. Are you all right, dear? You're looking a bit pale. Haven't you had breakfast yet?
No, I'm fine. I had breakfast already, Mrs. Wright. I just need...
Well then, you mustn't have had enough breakfast. I'm all for a good diet, but that's the most important meal of the day. Johans is cooking up pancakes. Pancakes will make anyone feel better, he always says. We can sit down and tuck in.
Fuck, I love pancakes.
You'll feel right as rain once we get some fluffy, syrupy goodness in you. And are you sure you're fine, Marianne? You're shaking.
Looking down at my hands, I can see them trembling. Really? Just because she looks Just because she looks so much like her, I'm becoming a damn train wreck. I've been seeing her in my dreams and hearing her voice ever since I met Mrs. Wright at the mansion. With so many blondes in the world, what was different with her? What was different this time? Sympathy points? No.
I just remembered something, that's all. It's nothing to worry about.
Are you sure? I am all ears if there is something bothering you. I don't mind a good story, and I don't want it to affect your work performance.
Gossipy wagon, isn't she? She should just leave you alone. It's not like you need her.
You don't have to worry about that, Mrs. Wright. I say business stays business, and anything else can stay in the doghouse until I'm done with work.
What was that? Is she... I just have to bear through it, don't I? If I tell her that I'm hearing voices, have you a fast track straight to the nut house. What else can I do? Saint Dimphna... Dimphna? Whatever. Help me, lest I become like her father Damon, insane at the thought of a lost love and mad at the pursuit of another.
Shall we talk about your work then?
If you'd like. It's on your time, after all.
I've been told many good things about you, and I've seen some of your work before. Others speak very highly of your work etiquette. Yet I've never heard of you before. Not even a whisper of the McCullough name.
Well, I've only been in Luxbourne for 4 years. Tried to make it big in London for nearly 3 years before. And I've only been working these high-quality projects for the past year.
I stick straight to the point. It's best to be brief when talking to clients, after all. Keep it clean-cut as much as possible. Yet, at the same time, I have to make it engaging so it doesn't look like I don't want to talk to them.
I imagine it hasn't been easy. I can't see why you've moved from London to Luxbourne, though.
Job vacancies were fewer at the time, and I had a lot of competition in London. Let's not even talk about the living costs there. But I'm glad I moved here, even if it hadn't been smooth sailing. If I had it easy, I probably wouldn't be working projects like these.
Why even bother explaining to her? She won't understand. She's practically born with a silver spoon in her mouth. The woman could probably snap her fingers and have servants attending to her beck and call.
She does look the part of a spoiled heiress, doesn't she? It would be a relief if she's just that. Something that's different from Mrs. Wright and her. Before she can get another word in, the words that may have proven me wrong or right, she looks up at the loft with a fond expression on her face. With just a simple glance, she can put in so much love that I feel a tad bit jealous of whoever holds it.
Good morning, Luke, darling.
Good morning, ladies. What a wonderful morning it is, that I wake up to such a beautiful sight.
Fuck off.
I do hope you two are getting along. I smell pancakes. I do hope you two are considering a diet just so I can have them all to myself.
Don't be a pig, Luke. You eat all of those and you might stop fitting into your tight suits.
What? I'm not a pig. You don't think I'm a pig, do you, Marianne?
With his saucy smile and playful wink, I can't help but think, you are a bit of a pig, Whiskey.
I don't know, Mr. Wright. I'm an interior designer, not a zoologist.
The only stars she must be familiar with are statement of works.
Well, don't be a bore. You two might not be in a rush, but I'm going to go ahead and feast.
If you dawdle too long, he'll hog all the syrup.
Rich people are so eccentric.
Come on then, we can discuss business over food.
I want pancakes. There is no denying the clients when they invite me over to the table. Though it is too personal to share a meal in their home, it would be terribly rude to deny their invitation. Oh, those look so good. Besides, the pancakes do look and smell heavenly. A bowl of clotted cream, fruits, syrups, and jams, and other spreads are laid out next to them, making for a colorful arrangement. If this was brunch with friends, I would have gladly helped myself to the whole lot. But as it is, I accepted just a few pieces of pancakes and topped it off with lemon and sugar.
You know, I was a tiny bit serious when I said I wanted a helipad.
And you're not serious about the greenhouse, the vineyard, and the stables?
Well, I do want those too, but I know you'll agree to those.
Oh my goodness.
We're talking about interiors here, honey. You don't handle exterior designs and whatever handles those sorts of projects do you, Marianne?
I'm able, actually, and willing to take a project of that nature. I was an architect in Ireland before. Of course, that's another contract entirely. I also suggest we finish the house itself before working on any additions to the rest of the property. There won't be any problems about ownership this time, will there? Pardon if I'm crossing a line, but the acquisition was rather quick.
Oh, don't you worry. We've got everything sorted this time around. I've talked to Miss Cooper and Mr. John from BRC, as well as the old owners. Everything has been paid in full, and all we're waiting for is the paperwork from the land registry. They're letting us move in as soon as we please. It's not like they were living there in the first place.
That's good to hear. The problems that could arise from renovating another person's home would be... well, let's not dwell on it. First off, we'll want to know how you want the place to look. It's pretty furnished as is, but I understand if you want to modernize the whole thing.
Actually, I'd prefer to keep the place looking as it is, but at the same time, I want modern appliances. You worked on the Ludgate's Christchurch summer residence. I do remember there being an oven I thought was a simple drawer before. Make them look vintage, antique, blend in with the rest of the decor.
Customize appliances then. I can't find someone for that, and if you can't tell me what you specifically want, it'll hasten up the process. We're talking about electronic appliance manufacturers. If you have a preferred brand to work with.
Splendid! So, what is next on our agenda? All the other interior designers we've hired in the past did not have us this involved.
I stop. What sort of half-baked designer did that? If I knew who they were, I would have words. This isn't the time or place for it, however. Instead, I use this brief pause to pull out the floor plans I brought with me.
We'll have to figure out what you want to do with the rooms. Here, we can have a quick run through.
What is that little room next to the master's bedroom?
Oh, as far as I could tell when I saw it, it's a second bedroom of sorts. Used, apparently, for the ladies-in-waiting who has served Lady Charlotte Ermengarde. Which is strange, as that isn't the norm for these sorts of houses.
Well, we're not stuffing Johans in there. He won't fit. You don't suppose we could turn it into a walk-in closet and a dressing room?
I love fashion, but do we really need to turn an entire room into a walk-in closet, dear? We'll have large closets and a wardrobe in the bedroom already.
Says the one who takes 3/5 of our closet. Well, what do you suggest we do with it?
Oh.
I thought a utility room of some sort would be nice.
Oh.
A craft room where I can do... Or maybe a children's room might be nice. You know, for when Kylie comes over. Or if Rochelle visits once she's had a baby.
1, you are not inviting that witch. And 2, there's a whole mansion for Kylie to play in. We don't need a children's room, and you don't even do arts and crafts. I'd like to turn the guest's room and the study into my personal office, by the way. If you don't mind.
You can turn it into a personal office if I can have my utility room. It's just the one room of the many. I'm taking that room for myself, no matter what you say, dearie. So you might as well take this deal. You're always out doing business anyway. The real problem is the theatre. Whatever are we going to do with all that space?
Fine. We could turn it into our own personal cinema, I suppose. Might as well have it, if you plan on not having a telly in the parlor.
Yes, well, I don't want guests to be glued to the telly when they come over for a meal and some tea. By the looks of things, we can keep the rooms as what they are on the ground floor, though. The ballroom would be perfect for parties.
Do we really need a dining hall, though? I don't suppose we can't convert it into a garage.
Fucking criminy.
What for? You can park your cars outside.
What about that room, right there, in the northwest corner?
That's sleeping quarters for the household help?
Oh, that is perfect! Johans will be glad if we have other staff members who stayed in. It'd be convenient so they don't have to make the trip from Luxbourne to the mansion when they're needed.
You'll definitely need a lot more people to maintain a property of this size.
The mansion is really a lot bigger than I thought. Look at all these rooms. I didn't even know there was a music room next to the parlor because of what happened.
There was a grand piano in there too, when we checked during the tour.
Did you hear that, Luke? Maybe you can take up playing the piano again. Oh, you should have seen him when we were younger, Marianne.
It's not like I was very good with the thing.
Oh, hush you. You were no Mozart, but I loved hearing you play nonetheless. He'd come over to my home and he'd play such fun tunes. He'd sing too and I'd dance and it was just...
Mr. Wright playing the piano? I can't imagine it. But the earnest way in which Mrs. Wright said so told otherwise.
Anyway, what do you think of these plans, Marianne?
Are we not even going to consider one of my requests? Not even just a closet or just a garage? Now, that isn't fair, is it? You're not the only one who's going to be living here.
I hardly see how that's unfair. I told you you're getting your office and your theatre, the greenhouse, the vineyard, and the stables. That sounds fair, does it not, Marianne?
Oh, no. Is this gonna be I lose points in one or the other type of thing? Let's try it. So, minus plus. And if I load, it's gonna reverse it, right? Minus plus. Okay. Well, I know my decision. I'm going to go with Hana, because out of the two of them, I like her more than Luke. For the moment. Sure, she may be possessed and becoming very unhinged later on in the story. I'll take her for now over him. Mrs. Wright had her points though I really didn't want to butt in the spot of a husband and wife. But with the way these two were looking at me to settle this, I might as well just keep the facts instead of giving the opinion.
Mr. Wright, your plan isn't quite feasible from an architectural perspective. I'm not even sure how much we can do without closer inspection. Well, the one about the garage, at least. A walk-in closet is easy enough, but the garage?
See, a garage isn't architecturally feasible and it isn't going to be financially sound as well. We're already going to spend a lot on your other requests. You have several acres of land to park on already.
What? Did you calculate that on the fly? Financially sound my foot. You're probably just thinking up of imaginary numbers.
Might I remind you that I was a financial manager? I also looked over and approved the expenses of our other houses. I know the rough cost of these things by now, love. Masters in Business Administration, major in accounting. Sometimes I think you forget that I'm not as dumb as I act.
That catches my attention more than anything. It sounds more unbelievable than Whiskey playing the piano. She really didn't seem like the type.
Business Administration and Accounting? What university?
Luxborn U, of course. Go Lux Dragons. Red and gold.
Excuse me? How about we move on this chit-chat ahead and do whatever else needs to be done sometime today? I had to cancel my appointments for this, you know. We might as well do a proper inspection with the designer this time, just to get it out of the way.
Yes, no time like the present. You want a thorough inspection? Might as well do it now. We actually took another look at the property yesterday, though it was brief. But I'm sure you would want to see it yourself, to spot anything we might have missed.
It's not like I have much of a choice, do I? Riding to the Immergard mansion in their rice is an awkward affair. Not only am I worried about scuffing the expensive looking leather seats, but I'm also worried about getting in the middle of another couple spat. With the tension thick in the air, I can feel them staring at each other at any time. Nobody is saying anything. Up until Mr. Wright tells his valet to turn the damn radio off. What was that about acting like the perfect couple in public? And for a moment, I think that he might start. But instead, he just stays quiet, and so do the rest of us. In the end, the insufferable silence stays. I have never been so glad to see a house. Stepping out of the car and up to the mansion meant the end of an uncomfortable ride, and I can finally take a deep breath of fresh air. The beauty of the place never fails to make me gaze in wonder every time I see it as well. Mrs. Wright moves towards the front door, keys in hand, and I can already hear Mr. Wright plotting.
Alright, Hans, we're going to go in, but I want you to look around the place. Familiarize yourself with it. Know every nook and cranny, every inch of the lot. Go and see where we can put that vineyard and the other things we talked about. We'll want to know where to station security as well, so go around the perimeter and figure it out.
Scout the property and circle the perimeter on foot. You do know this is 46 acres of land, sir.
Fuck.
Well, you are not driving the car over the grass. Put those long, spidery legs of yours to good use. I didn't hire you to stand around and look intimidating. Go, mush.
Someday, I'd like to ask how Johans could even stand and tolerate the man. Why doesn't he just quit? Certainly the pay can't be that good. Even I'm a bit put off by our mutual employer, and the only thing that keeps me from bailing is the fact that we've already signed a contract. At least, I'll only be working with them during the duration of the project. He works with them every day.
Sometimes I think you hired me to make me suffer for your amusement.
Someday, I'd ask. I feel a bit bad for him. If it's any consolation, he'll be away from Mr. Wright, if only for a little while. We're able to enter the mansion after a bit of standing out in the sun. This wretched, strange sunlight that is far too alien and rare. There had been a bit of a problem, and with the missus not knowing which key was which. The first item on the agenda would be the grand staircase. It seemed sturdy during the open house, but a closer inspection might say otherwise. There are no obvious marks of damage, nor wear and tear, probably rethreading during the renovations. Peeking under the grand carpet, the wood is properly installed with the bark placed down to prevent cupping. The carpet itself could use a vacuum, though. Structural conditions, from what I can see without actually dismantling the thing, looks to be in good shape, and the handrails and support posts are firm. The work on it should be commended. I can't look much more into the rest of the foyer, however, because Mr. Wright starts to hurry us into checking the dining hall.
So, what do you think? Certainly we can't turn this area into a garage.
It's Jacobean architecture. I'd say these would be pilasters and not buttresses, but you never really know. They really liked mixing up these elements. You could say it was pretty avant-garde at the time. We might hit a support beam if we're not careful.
And in layman's terms?
From what I see here, we could risk great damage to the house if we try to turn the dining hall into a garage.
The man didn't look too pleased with this. Good, fuck you. There's a look of disappointment before he sighs and turns around the place with an air of defeat. When he moves to speak, I dread another unreasonable demand. Again.
This will stay a dining hall then. But if I may have another request instead, at least spruce the place up with some flowers, some plants or something. It feels so old and dead in here.
That's hardly unreasonable. Daffodils are a must, I presume.
The look that passes between the two of them. There's a genuine look of fondness there. This is the first time I've seen such an exchange between the two of them. If anyone were to see them like this, there is little doubt that they loved each other.
Of course. And I want a garden full of them.
Now, if you excuse me, I'd like to look at the rest of the house. I'll just be around here downstairs, if anybody needs me.
That leaves Mrs. Wright and I.
He's quite fond of them, you know.
I can imagine. He looked terribly upset when we told him he can't have his garage.
I meant the daffodils. We always have a vase full of them in every house we own. Somewhere, I'd like to think. They may be about his mother. He never talks about her. I don't even know her name. He likes to flatter, claim that they remind him of me, but he's always loved the flowers, even before we married.
Much like the piano, I didn't take him for a person who liked flowers. Daffodils, least of all. What's next? Am I going to find that Mr. Wright saves kittens from burning buildings?
I'll go and snoop about upstairs. You go and do whatever it is that you have to do.
When she goes, without even asking if I need her here, I'm left standing to stare at the walls. Really, I don't need to do a thorough inspection of the building itself. It isn't really part of an interiors designer's job, haha. But the architecture, but the architect in me is committed to doing this task with every project. If I'm going to make a living space that have both form and function, I might as well make sure that the entirety of it is safe for my clients. Since I'm already here, I roam about the dining hall to check things off my punch list, if you will. But when it's time to move on, I hesitate. Mr. Wright said he would be somewhere around here on the ground floor, and I really don't want to be alone with whiskey. I have to look through the place eventually, sure, but on the other hand, I can do it later when he's gone. I can go upstairs first if I want to. Fuck! Going first for a fuck you. Fuck you, I do not want to be anywhere near Luke. I've already seen enough of this floor during the open house. Of course, I know that's just a convenient excuse. I just don't want to be in the same room as Whiskey anytime soon. So I might as well go upstairs first. The banisters on the grand staircase's landing are solid and at the proper height. Any lower, they would be trouble. There's a small catch on the carpet, though, but as long as nobody tries to run down the stairs until it gets fixed, things should be alright. And the stained glass? Art. Restored, no doubt, to the image of the last lady and Lord of Ermengarde. Or, it was supposed to be, until Lady Charlotte's fiancé was brutally murdered. By a witch of all things, from what I've read. You'd think the historians of this place would be a lot more scrutinizing filtering out stuff like that. I'm amazed they bothered with it, instead of replacing it with some generic cookie-cutter design. This entire place alone would have cost roughly 500, even £1 million. Lady Charlotte Ermengarde and her beloved. Looking at the mosaic, it isn't too far of a stretch for the imagination to believe that the depicted images could be Mr. or Mrs. Wright. It can be easily assumed as such, if one doesn't know the history of the mansion. Really, a place like this should be protected by the government as a landmark. But what can I do about it? Walking into the East Wing, I try to go into the theater, but is met with an obstacle. The obstacle is... the obstacle that is locked doors. 2 doors. 2, and both of them are locked. I'd be frustrated, would it be, if I hadn't... I'd be frustrated, would be, if I hadn't already snuck off while the Wrights were having their little business meeting with Miss Cooper before going to take a peek. With what Mr. Wright wanted, we'd have to install a powerful projector, the type they use in cinemas, and a projection screen. The seats would have to be reupholstered if they want to be any comfortable, and the walls have to be covered in a dark material, paint, wallpaper, or install wall-to-wall carpeting. Really, of all the rooms I could be jealous of, it's this one. I could just picture myself in there, watching old kung fu flicks on a weekend-long marathon. Makes me wonder what kind of movies Mrs. Wright would like. Rom-coms, perhaps? Her husband, on the other hand, I'd rather not think about it. In the middle of my notation and planning, I don't even realize that I'm not alone until I'm caught standing in front of a locked door like a fool.
Were you meaning to go in there? I'm afraid we won't be able to open it up today.
Oh well, I wanted to, but it's fine. I can still survey the rest of the place.
Apologies, but the key was missing when they were handed over. They told us that they'd get right back to us with it.
What? But aren't they supposed to hand over all the keys once property changes hands? That can be grounds to file a complaint.
They were already kind enough to let us move in so early. There's no need to raise a fuss about it. Worst comes to worst, we can call for a locksmith.
The air is heavy and somber when she grows quiet and glances out the window. Out towards the vast expanse that surrounds what would be their house. Their home. When she looks back at me with a sigh, then she looks back at me with a sigh and a bitter smile.
Flowers. Yellow flowers. Daffodils, dandelions, and sunflowers in the sort all up front. Just a whole garden of them. They'll make the house look lovely, won't they?
Of course. A garden is a wonderful addition to any home.
As I say this, her eyes roam over me, scrutinizing and thoughtful. I have to hold back the shiver that threatens to run down my spine at being inspected so closely.
Yes, it must be nice.
We're still talking about the gardens, yes?
I mean not having to worry about what another person thinks of you.
What do you mean by that?
She lifts her head and points to her wedding ring before it falls listlessly to her side.
Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I didn't marry Luke.
Oh. Oh, you don't have a wedding ring on your, person either. Huh. Not sure if that's done on purpose or not.
There'll be no fights about walk-in closets or silly helipads. I could do with this place as my heart desires until there's nothing but content. Then again, I wouldn't have bought this place if it wasn't a gift for him. I probably wouldn't even be in Luxbourne if it wasn't for him. Maybe I would have moved to London, Manchester, or Birmingham. I might have even left the country altogether. France, Germany, Spain, Canada, Sweden, even America. The possibilities would have been endless.
I don't know what to say to that. What is there to say?
I'm sorry, I must sound so petty and ungrateful. I do love him. So very much, even if he can be a bit difficult at times.
Oh no, not at all. I'm just confused why you're telling me this, of all people.
Just a whim, I think. Just flights of fancy, that's all. Don't you ever think about one decision you've made in your life and wonder how much would change if you chose to do things differently?
I try not to dwell on the past, ma'am.
The key word is try, of course. Thinking of the past brings up too many ghosts. Memories of her. And I do wonder what would change if I just said yes when she asked for me. Maybe she'd still be with me. I return to the present, just like I said. I try not to dwell on the past. Nope.
You must have been quite the pair, Mrs. Wright.
Okay, cool. We almost have full bars with her, too.
Hannah Evans and Luke Wright taking Luxbourne by storm. At least, that's what I've heard.
That gets a giggle out of her. Oh, she's so cute. Even if you do look positively demented later on. And can I be blamed if I like the way her eyes crinkled or how she
Quite the
sounded?
celebrity couple, according to all the newspapers. But it wasn't always that way. Father certainly didn't approve of him at first. Why, he told me to stay away from him. Told me that I was too good for him. That's the usual overprotective dad speak, though. But of course you know that.
I wouldn't. I don't. I was too busy keeping my grades up at boarding school to maintain my scholarship. Never mind the fact that I went to an all-girls boarding school, so father never had any reason to fuss over boys trying to date his little girl.
And what did you tell him? Considering you are Mrs. Wright now, you or the mister must have convinced him otherwise.
Yes, well, I told him I was my own woman and I could decide who was deserving of me or not on my own. Thank you very much. That never stopped him from making sure Luke couldn't get anywhere near me without an escort and a guard anyway. Though he certainly wasn't that overprotective when I was dating Jack.
Maybe your father considered this Jack a more capable man?
I doubt it. Jacqueline was nowhere close to being any sort of a role model when we were in college. She was rebellious, reckless, and immature. Everything I wasn't. But she was quite the charming, stunning woman, and I think that made her quite likable.
That takes me by surprise, a lot more than the fact that Mr. Wright's father-in-law didn't like him. That much was to be expected. But this... I have nothing against them being... because that's their thing, though the nuns and the priests would say otherwise. Although, wasn't she worried about the implications, the rumors that that would have arisen during her dating another of the same sex? Especially with someone of her social status.
You look surprised, Marianne. The first thing anybody needs to know about me is that I go after what I want. And when it comes to who I love, it doesn't matter to me whether they're a man or a woman.
It's a nice enough sentiment. Still, the thought that this lovely lady before me had once been with another woman? I can feel my cheeks heat up a bit, and I panic, thinking they might be red enough for Mrs. Wright to notice. I can't tell, though, a coy smile graces her lips.
Legs, we called her, because of how often she was running about because of one thing or another. Climbing up walls and, what do they call it now? Parkour.
Oh, damn. I don't even know who this Jacqueline is, and I like her.
And also because of her, well, legs.
And you went after her?
Not right away. When I first met her, I wanted nothing to do with her. She was so improper and uncouth. But I slowly realized that didn't mean she was a bad person. On the contrary, she did many a good thing and was always so nice to others. I found myself confused. I couldn't figure out if I wanted to be her or wanted to be with her.
That's a mood.
So I approached her, told her that I might have fancied her.
And your father didn't mind?
He must have thought it was my form of rebellion. But he never watched out for Jack as much as he watched out for Luke. If I didn't love my father so much, if he hadn't raised me right, I think I might have told him to bugger off. He's never been more attentive of me than when I started bringing home dates.
I'm sure he loved you very much.
She laughs once more, a glow about her. I know, she says with a small smile.
I suppose I've taken too much of your time with my silly stories. You still have much to inspect?
I still have most of this floor, and I'll want a quick run-through of the ground floor again later.
I shan't keep you from your work any longer then. Just call me if you need anything. I'd like to look around myself.
When she turns to leave, she glances back at me before disappearing into the foyer. I look out the window from where she was standing, and I move on, alone with nothing but my thoughts and her.
Finally, some peace and quiet. Thought the old biddy would never leave.
It's utter madness, this hearing things. I reckon it's the stress, though I don't know exactly what I'm stressed about. If meeting Mrs. Wright has really thrown me for a loop, I'd be worried. If I'm developing some sort of psychosis or disorder, well, I'd call a doctor. But hopefully it isn't that. Not right here, and not right now. I mean, it could just be that personal talking cricket, the conscience, so to speak, and I'm only noticing now. Though, if it is, it isn't very helpful. Pushing the dilemma of voices inside my head aside, I go back to work. But I can barely make it a few steps before everything tilts and shifts. I don't really stumble, but it feels like I'm being thrown off my feet, and the rest of the world just follows. Though my feet stay firm on the ground, even if I stay mostly upright, I feel like I've been heaved and put off balance. I have to close my eyes, in the hopes of willing the sudden sense of vertigo away. But when I open them... Hi. Oh, that is drippy blood noises, isn't it? At least it didn't animate it, I guess. Oh, man. Well, I don't feel any less sick because of the sight that greets me. Blood dripped from the walls and ceiling, pulling downwards and seeping into the curtains and the carpet. A wave of nausea, stronger than the last, hits me along with the overpowering stench of blood and gore. I want to bolt. The rational part of my brain is telling me to flee. I would have gladly done so, as it asked, if only I didn't hear her.
In here, Marianne. Come on. I have something to show you.
I could have ignored it, would have ignored it, if I'd only heard it in my head. But I swear that this time it's coming from one of the rooms. Much further in, into the study. And I feel compelled to pay attention. I can't just turn around and leave. Not when it's her. I don't even think as I follow the sound of her voice. Lorianne. Lovely Amanda Lorianne Lassifiona? Oh, L. Fuck it. She was my friend, the only one that I had at St. Samthon's. Meh. I was a scholar, the charity case, in a school for privileged and prestigious young girls. They all looked down at me, if they cared to look at me or acknowledge my presence at all. All except her.
Oh, stop your crying. You know better than to listen to Maeve. Why I gotta teach that butterface a lesson?
Wait, no, lass! I don't want you getting into trouble with the sisters again!
Relax. It's not like I'm going to stomp her and her lackey's arses flat like last time.
Come on, let's just go back to our dorm room. I don't want to be on my Tobler while you go get yourself punished.
You'll be fine. Gip's there with you.
Lorianne was there when I needed her, though through my highs and lows. Having her as a friend made being in such a strange school, away from my father, all the more tolerable. She saw this poor, helpless girl who was kept down and shunned by everyone else, and, being the kind soul that she was, she rescued me. So brave. So beautiful. She was something else.
I'll eat all the chocolates stashed away in your closet if you go.
I can get more. Just don't go complaining to me if you get a tummy ache because of that.
Well, you don't want to get detention on a weekend, do you? It's a Friday. We can go to town and have some karaoke. And we can have a go at druids and demons again. You're not going to miss that just because of Maeve, are you?
Sometimes, I question what I did to deserve a friend like her. In the darkest corners of my mind, where traitorous thoughts lurked, I thought that she only felt sorry for me. Maybe she was just being a good Samaritan, offering a helping hand. And perhaps I had been too selfish to return the favor.
You have a point. I'll just kick her arse on Monday then.
That's not what I mean!
I know what you mean, Em.
Wait, where are you going? You just told me you wouldn't cause trouble.
I still have something to do. Don't worry, it's not like I'm going to burn down her dorm room or something criminal like that. I'm just going to talk to her. Maybe I'll make it so that her room smells like a dog's air biscuit. That'll make it an excellent weekend. I'll see you in a bit, Marion. Lots of tumblers.
Because when she told me that she loved me, I could admit I felt the same way. Not to her, and not even to myself. It was wrong. I was taught that way. Husband and wife, one man, one woman. Unclean, impure. I prayed for her and for our sins and for our salvation. I wanted to apologize for disregarding her feelings so callously. It must have been like a slap to the face for her. But life had gotten in the way. Exams, which are trivial in hindsight now, took top priority. I had to keep my grades up to keep my scholarship. For my father. I told myself I would apologize to her when those were over, that I needed to focus first and not let anything distract me. It had been easy, when she avoided me like the plague. She was upset, I get that. Oh, goodness gravy. I thought I had the time to make things right, but...
At 7 in the morning, students found a 5th year dead.
Oh.
Assumed to have fallen from her dormitory window.
They told us that it was an accident. That was the official statement. But I knew better. She was dead because of me.
Maeve had a hoot and I kicked the bucket, didn't she? Ding dong, the witch is dead!
She had, though she didn't say which, Lorianne.
But at least Maeve had the courage to admit how she felt about me.
I don't even know how long I've been stuck there in a trance. In the mirror, Lorianne smiles at me. She's as beautiful as I remember her. But then... No! I feel bile rise up in my throat as her clean image warps into how she looked like words. I feel bile rise up in my throat as her clean image warps into how she looked like when they found her dead, lying on the cold, hard ground. Good Saint Difna, great wandering worker in every affliction of my mind and body, help me. I'm seeing things, hearing things. Am I going completely insane? Looking everywhere but at her, I hope and pray that it's enough to will whatever this is to go away. It doesn't even immediately register in my head that I can just leave.
You, on the other hand, can't even look me in the eye.
This isn't real. You're not... You're dead!
I'm dead. Because of you. And you won't even look at me. Look at me.
My breathing quickens, and I can feel my heart being torn apart by her words.
I'm so sorry, Lorraine.
Look at me!
I can't take it because she's right. It's my fault. The least I can do is look at what I've done. Lorianne, broken and bleeding, looks at me with such hate-filled eyes. An unnatural smile stretches across her face, and I can only see malice in it. She then am I gonna be a quick time event soon? She then lunges as the mirror ripples around her form, and glass parting like water surface for her. She grips my shoulders, and I can feel her nails dig deep, sharp, even through the fabric of my clothes.
There you are.
Hi.
Why won't you love me?
I did it. Fuck you. Even if I did panic. Apologies spill from my lips as tears cloud my vision. But I won't give in to this madness. With every bit of strength I have left, I struggle to get away from her. Fear grips and threatens to choke me. I endure. I escape. And without turning back, I stumble back out. In my panic, I don't even care to look where I'm going. with one hand on the wall to steady me, I just hobble as fast as I can get away from the study. Away from that mirror. Freedom is bittersweet. I'm free from the madness, it seems, as running out to the hallway reveals it to be in pristine condition. But it means I've turned my back on Lorianne. Again. I have no plans of stopping. Not until I know I'm safe. And if that means walking back to Luxburn, as ridiculous as that idea is, then so be it. Someone suddenly grabs hold of me, however. Fingers digging deep into my shoulder, and my heart nearly stops. My body seizes and I nearly scream.
Marianne, you look awful. I mean, not awful, but... Did something happen? Are you alright?
I saw a spider.
Mrs. Wright,
Oh. Without thinking, I sought comfort, seeing that it wasn't her. All of a sudden, it's a sudden impulsive thing to do, and had I been in a better condition, I wouldn't have even dared doing such a thing. But I didn't know what else to do. Though I know I shouldn't. Her warmth, her scent, they ground me. She is intoxicating.
Marianne, what's going on? Oh, you're shaking like a leaf.
Tremors run through my body as soon as my mind realized I am no longer in danger. I wanted to cry, scream about what I had seen, but like a scared child, I couldn't control myself. My mind couldn't reconcile with what I had seen. I should just write it off as a figment of my imagination, yet I can still feel her nails cutting into my skin.
Are you sick? Should I call for a doctor?
I'm sorry, Mrs. Wright. Just feeling a little woozy and lightheaded is all.
Let's get you somewhere to sit down then. Come on, don't worry, I have you.
A lie, but a whole lot less complicated than telling her I was being attacked by a dead girl. When the feeling of fear eases off, I feel nothing but shame for my actions. I quickly back away as I clear my throat and nod my thanks.
I think I've had enough looking around. If it's all right with you and Mr. Wright, I'll meet you outside.
If you're sure, I'll have the car started. Do you need assistance heading downstairs?
I'm all right, ma'am. Just go on ahead and I'll be right there.
It seems to placate her worries, though only for a brief second. Before she heads down, I don't miss the concerned glance she shoots my way, hidden quickly under another smile. I won't begrudge her for it. That worry. The look on my face must have been a strange enough sight on its own. Even I am still reeling from whatever that was. Her voice still whispers in my ears. After all these years, she's still... No, Marianne. Shaking my head at the thoughts, I drag in a breath and follow shortly after Mrs. Wright. Whatever has happened in the past, it's long gone. Only memories now. And those are things I can no longer bring back. It's already dark as we make our... It's already dark as we make our way out of the mansion. With no lights, we are only illuminated by the headlamps of the Wright's car and the stars above us. The sight of them helps me to compose myself much more than the several minutes of being alone did. The car's engine is running, yet the two still stand out on the lawn. Mrs. Wright is busy, eyes up to the stars. And Mr. Wright, arms crossed, has his eyes down on the ground. It's the crunch of grass underneath my heels that brings her attention to me.
About time, what took you so long? A minute longer and I'd think the house swallowed you all up.
Oh, hush, dear. I'm sure she has her reasons. Marianne doesn't seem the sort to idle.
Sorry, I was just checking on something important.
See, business is business and they take time, love. You should know that better than anyone. So, Marianne, what do you think? Are you the woman for the job? I know we already signed papers hiring you, but I want to be 100% sure that you are committed.
I glanced back towards the mansion. Knowing what I had seen there, or rather who I saw there, because there's just no way. Not to mention how I acted toward Mrs. Wright, for goodness sake. I should feel the slightest bit hesitant. I was lucky. I've seen enough films to know what happens when a promiscuous woman enters a haunted house. This is my chance to turn it down, make excuses, say that I'm not up to the task, that I need to take care of my old sick father. Just pay the fine, which is probably outrageous for a contract like this, and let it go. I should turn it down. But for some obstinate reason, I can't. In the same manner that I haven't let go of her, of the regret that has shadowed me since in that day. Much as I hate to admit it, even to myself, seeing her again, the mischievous glint in her eyes, the loose tendrils of her hair curled around her forehead, it's something I've terribly missed. And now that it's here, almost within its arm's reach, My father would tell me, sometimes you simply have to go through with it, consequences be damned. And, well, I really didn't have any logical reason to say no. At least, not something a client like the Wrights would want to hear from a professional designer.
It's certainly an interesting project. You can be sure I'm seeing it through the end.
Such dedication! Oh, I do love the determination.
You were always determined like that, weren't you?
Hearing her voice once again sends a chill running down my back. I can't wait for this day to be over. From the mansion and through Anselm, I rode with them in silence. But as soon as we hit the city proper, I asked to be dropped off and bid them goodnight. I thought it'd be best if I didn't stay too long in confined spaces with either Miss or Mr. Wright. Both seemed to cause me serious trouble, and if the project had been any less interesting or grand, I would have dropped it without a second thought. Would have. Shouldn't have. Won't. I assure them that my place isn't that far off, and I have to fight off the urge to roll my eyes and groan when whiskey throws me a little smirk. But even in my own house, peace is elusive, as is sleep. I lie awake, thinking about what I saw in that mansion, of who I saw. If I so much as hear a single whisper from her, if I so much as see a wisp of her hair, I'm afraid I'll go mad. But none of that happens, and it makes me feel hollow. For 2 nights, I've had trouble sleeping, but it's only one morning when fatigue has already let me rest that I'm reminded of what terrifies me so. In my restless dreams, I see that mirror, the one in the study, and in it, I see her. I see them. Lorraine and Hannah. Hannah and Lorraine.
Oh, pathetic Marianne! Work, work, work!
I hate that.
She'll work herself to death!
See, she doesn't listen. That's all she did. Look at what happened to me.
They talk among themselves with cruel smiles and venomous tongues. Or rather, to themselves, 2 heads, 1 body. Horrible mockery of those women, as if they were one and the same.
More's the pity. Life goes on and goes out, and she doesn't even see it.
Do you think she'll even realize when she's kicked the bucket herself?
When they say a person that has a hard time telling him when they're in a dream, it was true often enough. Even with this bizarre sight, even with the obvious implication that this isn't real, I can't help but feel distress.
Likely. Is that any way to live at all? She might as well be dead.
Cruel fate that she's alive and I'm... well...
Though they speak into each other's ear, tones low and hushed, I can still hear them as clear as day. Their whispers pervade the air, heavy and oppressive. They bury and dig into my head like tiny maggots, worming their way into my skull. It's only then that they take notice of my presence. Eyes turn towards me, and I can only feel small under their scrutiny. Caricature smiles etch on their faces, mimicking each other grotesquely.
Oh, Marianne! How long have you been standing there, dearie?
Come join us, Marianne. We won't bite. Unless you ask, that is.
Have you been looking at us? Spying? How scandalous. Such a naughty girl.
I'm sure you were just waiting for something lewd to happen, weren't you?
You know she will not admit it. She thinks it wrong. You've said it so yourself.
Yes. She thought me wrong, impure, abnormal, because I loved her.
My breath hitches, and I open my mouth to protest, but they stop me, screeching. The mirror that holds them cracks, lines spidering across its surface.
Do not lie! We know the gluttonous thoughts you try to deny, girl. All those desires you bury beneath that sickening guilt. You act the martyr when you turn the bed you lie in into your own hedonistic hell. You are nothing but a tainted soul with filth-stained flesh held together by falsehood and pride.
They look livid, and when it looks like they would lunge, I wake, feeling like the wind has been knocked out of me. With a groan, I squint and find a servant Fluffball sitting on my chest looking as pleased as Punch. She is the overlady of the cats, queen of despair and destruction of nice furniture. Though I can't stay mad at Her Majesty because it feels like she did something good this time. I was having a nightmare, but I can't even remember what it was about. Trying to recall leaves a terrible pit in my stomach. Maybe. It's probably better that I don't remember.
Good morning, Baruthiel. Who's the good kitty? Are you hungry? Is that why you woke me up?
A content purr comes from my sweet dear before she jumps off the bed and trots towards the kitchen. On the other hand, it takes me a bit more before I roll out of bed and start my day. Mornings before work is always a quiet affair. Shower first, then a mug of coffee and a bowl of oats. Sometimes I do stretches, and I always check my work email. The Wrights will be moving into the mansion today. I don't think the paperwork is officially done yet, but it isn't too far-fetched to think they were allowed to start their move despite that. Rich people like them will always find ways to get what they want, after all.
I'll be leaving you again today, Beth. So you behave and make sure not to shred up my new covers, okay? And don't worry, I didn't forget tomorrow is Black Cat Day, so I'll throw you a party.
Okay, that's fucking cute.
But only if you behave like a proper lady.
She barely gives me a glance as I say that before going back to her own food. Cats. Still better than humans, most of the time. Too bad I have to work with humans. The place is already busy as soon as I get there. The foreman, one that I've recommended to the Wrights for his work ethic, is early as usual. Already he's instructing men here and there with bigger loads. I have no chance to talk to him as Mrs. Wright appears and greets me with a smile.
Mrs. Wright, I hope everything has been to your liking thus far.
Good morning, Marianne. It has been delightful and these men have been very helpful. Look at all this. It's so busy here. I'm getting tired just looking at them go.
No complications so far with the movers or the previous owners of the mansion, I hope?
If anything, the only one being problematic is Luke, if I'm to be honest. He can be such a diva, but I do like that about him.
She stops, looking up at the upper landing where Mr. Wright comes through with two other movers in the mirror from the study.
Oh, do be careful with that mirror. We wouldn't want anyone getting hurt because of broken glass. Why are you even having it carried around?
Oh? You did say you didn't want the mirror, and I keep getting distracted by it.
Okay, that would sound narcissistic, but I wonder if he saw something as well.
If I'm going to turn the study into my office, I'd rather not have it there. Where can we put this?
Well, you are not putting it in our room. Why don't you go, I don't know, put it in the wine cellar for now? We can figure out if we'll store it in the attic or somewhere else later, yes?
You heard her, boys. To the cellar it goes. Mush!
The movers bring down the mirror one step at a time, no matter how much the man tells them to hurry. An unsettling feeling grows in my stomach as I see our reflections in the bloody thing. And I look away, not wishing to risk anything. If I see Lorraine's image in the mirror now, I wouldn't know what to do. I don't have the luxury of privacy right now, and I am not going to break down in front of all these people. Mrs. Wright only shakes her head and laughs at her husband's antics as they take the mirror out of here. He's back and at it again as soon enough, pointing the man here and there. I'd say he's the man with the plan, but it sort of interferes with the layout and design that we've already agreed upon before. I'm about to point it out, but...
It's better you let him realize his mistakes on his own, rather than tell him of them. That way you do not get blamed for his actions. It is more fun, too, to tell him, how does they say it? I told you so, once he slips up.
I appreciate Johannes a lot.
Been working with him long enough to know that, huh?
It's not like I plan to make too much of a fuss, unless what he changes is actually crucial.
It happens often enough, when one is made to accompany him nearly all hours of the day.
Up, higher, come on now!
Still, he could at least be less pushy about things.
Careful now! I know your pictures are framed by cheap plastic, but those are framed by African Blackwood and are one-of-a-kind commissioned paintings. Each one is easily worth a lifetime of what you lot make.
It is surprising how hands-on he is compared to my usual clientele. Well, both of them, actually. It's refreshing to have them participate despite their initial reluctance.
Luke, do the dishwashers go into the kitchen or the butler's pantry?
Pantry, Buttercup. Careful, that's Emma No, you there, put that down. You do not manhandle a Napoleon Abueva.
He really needs to tone down the dramatics a notch. Mrs. Wright and the butler look like they're used to it by now. But the rest of us? Well...
Sweetie, why don't we go and sort your suits upstairs? Let your Hans and Marianne and the foreman deal with the rest of the work.
We have this, Mrs. Wright.
Yes, please do go before a blood vessel bursts. Bloodstains are so troublesome to clean.
There is an obvious sense of relief as Mr. Wright is dragged out of the room, leaving the movers to do their work in peace. Some grumbling even comes from some of the younger workers. It's a good thing that the family butler isn't some blindly loyal tool to his boss, or there'd be trouble with Mr. Wright.
He is such a bratwurst. Whiny baby who never got enough hugs from his mutter.
Probably lost in translation, and not that I'm condoning talking about someone else behind their back, but I think you meant to call Mr. Wright a horrible brat.
Well, he is that too. There are a lot of things I can call him, but I mean to say that he is a big weenie. A childish name for a childish person. Like a child, he whines when he doesn't get what he wants, and he breaks the toys that he has.
That gets a laugh from me, as well as a few of the movers who linger near. He and I carry boxes, instructing the movers where they should be, and generally taking over Mr. Wright's work. It goes off without a hitch, and the man is helpful, efficient, and capable with physical labor, despite his clean-cut appearance. A gentleman to boot, taking boxes for me when he sees me struggling with them. Speaking of boxes...
Hey, one of the boxes for the kitchen is missing. Has anyone seen it? The one with the pots and the knives.
The bratwurst had it brought upstairs, thinking it was for the attic.
Why would he... Oh, never mind. I'll go get it.
No. No. Why even bring a box of pots and knives to the attic? That man is ridiculous. There's probably no point making sense of what he does, if he does them just because he can. At least, it turns out that I don't have to make it all the way up to the attic. The mover, probably on Mr. Wright's orders, left the box on the stairs.
At least it's not that heavy.
I managed to hoist it up without too much effort. But the time it takes for me to do that is long enough for me to overhear an odd conversation I could, never in my life, imagine coming from a couple like the Wrights.
Why, if you're not careful, I might go a bit loopy and I'll stop bringing cats home. And soon enough, one day you'll find yourself going home to a farm just filled with felines that follow you everywhere.
Oh, don't bluff. The things would shred up your precious furniture. Besides, you don't even like cats.
True, true. Dogs are infinitely superior, of course.
But what about the wet dog smell? The mess. I'm not cleaning up after a mutt, no matter how cute. If you think about it, a cat would be better.
For once, I'll have to agree with Whiskey on this one, though I can live with Mrs. Wright being a dog person. But as amusing as the conversation might get, I really shouldn't be caught eavesdropping or slacking off on the job. At most, I should be looking for ways of possibly soundproofing certain rooms, perhaps bringing it up if they don't realize the lack of it. I really should. This is gonna be another story one, not a relationship one. Move on. No. Nope. Oh, no, it is a relationship one. Okay, cool. I didn't think it would be. I thought it would be a story one. My bad. No matter how bizarre the conversation might get, I really must go. Not to mention, just standing here when I have no more reason to loiter just feels wrong. Besides, the magic word here is privacy, and I respect that. Keep it in mind, and I won't have a guilty conscience filled to the brim with secrets of the rich and famous in my hands. I'd take the stairs 2 at a time if I wasn't in danger of getting stabbed by my baggage, if nobody else is in the foyer. But as Johannes takes the box from me, I only give him a small smile. There's no reason to gossip about the peculiar conversation of his employers. He's probably heard much odder things from them, and he doesn't seem to be a cat or a dog person either. As soon as I follow him into the kitchen, he raises a hand to stop me.
Nine, I know you are very skilled in architect, and I have seen your work. But this shall be my kitchen, and I shall fix it according to my wishes. Yeah?
I can respect that.
Kind of weird anyone would think that pots and knives are supposed to go anywhere but the kitchen, huh?
I assume he's gotten them confused. It wouldn't be the first time.
Confused? How does that even work? I understand covers, carpets, or even curtains getting mixed up. Hey, I'd even understand pots being mixed up with silver decor. But knives?
Oh, he has a collection of ornamental ones from his father. It takes them everywhere he goes, wherever he moves.
I guess that makes sense. A bit. Still odd.
He merely shrugs before going back to work. The movers work efficiently even when they're left alone, and they do quick work of their responsibilities. The head foreman comes, standing in the doorway, to consult with me on this or that, and I have to go help every now and then. But they pretty much have everything up to standards. They skip lunch entirely, not even realizing when they do so. Nevertheless, all is well as the butler gets to heating up the leftover bubble and squeak from breakfast, and makes a generous batch of fish and chips for them. Most likely simple in comparison to what he serves the Wrights, but well done nonetheless.
That smells good. Want to wrap up some for me to go?
It's an idle observation more than anything. My thoughts, as they are, preoccupy me.
If there are any left. One can't go wrong with fish and chips. Everyone loves them. Even my husband. And he's American.
I don't like them, but that's more of I don't like fish or fried things. I really do hate getting up and close and personal with my clients. It's a distraction. It is obvious to me that I've gotten my priorities all wrong when I can't help but think about what I've heard, what I've learned about the Wrights couple. These things have a way of creeping up on a person. Thoughts, ideas, whether they are fact or fiction. They creep up and fester, crawl and writhe in a way that twists. I hear giggling, delighted and mocking. They creep up and... the sensation of fingers ghosting briefly on my arm causes me to freeze and hiss.
Don't!
I don't want to read. I don't want to continue on. I half expect her to be there.
Whoa, no need to scream bloody murder! It's just me. Quiet down before you break glass.
Okay, but like seriously don't. No touchy. But it's just whiskey.
Don't do that again. Ever.
I don't like being scared. Though I don't believe in the likes of spooks, being startled is not on the top of my list of things Marianne liked. Lucky for him, I have nothing within reach, or he would have gotten on friendly terms or something. Like a rolling pin.
What was with that reaction? Were you really scared? Has Johan's been telling you ghost stories? He just loves to scare people.
I want Johan's as a
Isn't that
bestie.
right, Brother Gurium?
The butler's expression is unreadable. I hardly see any emotion on his face to begin with since I started working for the Wrights, aside from vague amusement. There must have been something there, though, judging from Mr. Wright's own content look. That expression on Mr. Wright's face is almost... cruel. But neither of them spoke, even as Johannes leaves the room to serve the workers their late lunch.
So, now that we're alone, Marianne, what are you so jumpy for?
You can fuck the hell right off.
I was just thinking about all the urban legends the movers have been telling me about this place.
Don't tell me you believe in that tosh. They're nothing but tales made up to scare children. Timmy, Billy, don't you dare go up to that big mansion and get in trouble there. The ghosts are going to get you.
Okay, there are tales made for children, but we're talking about a fucking ghost that murders people. I'm not necessarily sure that's a tale for children.
That's a boring way to look at it, but that's usually what it is anyway, no? Like I said, I was just thinking.
It would be a relief, actually, if those rumors of this place being haunted is true. That just means I'm not going bonkers. Hearing, let alone seeing, a dead person isn't exactly the symptoms of a healthy mind. Sure, it means that there will be such things as... ghouls and goblins, but at least I'd be sane. On the other hand, there'd actually be a dead girl walking around.
If you could excuse the inane question, Mr. Wright, you haven't noticed anything weird here?
A simple enough question on the surface, and yet I notice the man's stiffness the question leaves my mouth. He's seen something. I wouldn't have noticed it if I wasn't watching his reaction intently, but in his eyes, I see something dangerous.
It depends on your definition of the word weird. Are we still on the topic of this place being haunted? Because no, things have not started to fly around and we have yet to require an exorcism. I don't think my head would like to do the whole 180-degree turn thing.
Your head wouldn't be doing it, it would be the ghost doing it.
Well, maybe that, but no strange people?
Aside from my usually weird butler and all the weird men traipsing around touching my things? No, not really. Why do you ask? Have you noticed anyone strange while you were here? Because you must report it to Johans and he'll have security handle it. But these reports better not be about ghosts and things that go bump in the night. I don't want to waste manpower on the boogeyman or senseless witch hunts.
I'll keep that in mind, Mr. Wright. But no, it's nothing like that. I guess the mansion is just strange for me. It's a unique project.
No strange men or women lurking about then?
A dead teenager would technically qualify as strange. But yeah, the whole I see dead people thing isn't going to go over well.
None that I know of. But I'll inform Johans immediately if something comes up.
I'm serious, Mint. You see anything, anyone suspicious, and you report it. Immediately.
I think that goes without saying.
The concern he has on the talk of security is quickly gone. His arrogant smug smirk returns, if a bit subdued. Whatever smarmy remark or innuendo he has at the ready never comes, though, as voices from the dining hall ring out.
So, is this a full-time job for you then?
Nah, I just freelance mostly, for magazines, newspapers, and events. So you can't really call it a full-time job. It's fun and it puts food on the table, but it's not what I really want to do. At least not all the time.
That would be the magazine photographer, I presume. As always, Mrs. Wright talks in such a kind and cheery fashion, no matter who she's talking with. It certainly puts people at ease around her. It sounds like it's working on the photographer, too. Hearing them, though, seems to put Mr. Wright in a sour mood. At least, if his small scale is anything to go by. Is he jealous? I don't want to put plus points on you at all, but damn it if I'm not concerned about rare relationship meters.
Hey, are you alright there, Whiskey? You're looking like you need a serious drink.
What is it that you want to do then?
Films. Documentaries mostly. But cinematography is a lot more difficult than photography, right? I was working on this thing, actually.
I'm fine. Just a bit winded from all that moving about. It's been a long day.
And the day's not over yet. So if you can excuse the bloodness, you either shape up to help or ship out back to your room and let us do the rest of the work.
He hesitates, eyes locked firmly on the door that led to the dining hall. Even now, we can still hear as Mrs. Wright and the photographer chit-chat between shots.
It's not my place to say this, but she really does seem to care a lot about you, you know?
There's no need to remind me of that.
A strange smile appears on his face before he shuts his eyes and sighs.
Tell the workers that you're all dismissed early.
That's nice and all, Whiskey. But we really shouldn't just take off. Delays aren't a good thing when it comes to big projects like these. The sooner we tackle certain issues, the better.
And I trust you can take care of these issues another day. Don't make me ask again, Mint. Just tell the others they can go home early, and to not worry, they'll still get paid the remaining hours.
I don't know what prompted this. With the air he's putting on, though, I know better than to meddle and prod further. Besides...
Fine, you're the boss.
Walking out of the kitchen, I just accept the fact that whatever he says will go while under his roof. Mrs. Wright, the photographer, is still too busy in conversation to notice me, even as I make my way through the dining hall. Besides, I don't want to ruin their fun.
Well, it wasn't really a big thing. People didn't like Blue Fonzie very much.
People don't like a film about colors. I suppose they would have liked Blue Baby a lot more.
Going to the foyer has me stumble upon the family butler once more, who raises a brow at my presence.
And where are you off to in a hurry, Miss McCulloch? The foreman is looking for you.
The Bratwurst wants us off the clock. He's dismissing us early because of... Oh, I don't know. He just wants us out of here.
I'll go and call a cab for you then. It would be for the best that you leave when he asks you to.
I don't doubt it. My ride back to the city doesn't take too long to get there. To get here. Granted, there were some difficulties at first because the driver didn't know where the Ermengarde mansion is. He tried to have us hand over GPS coordinates from our smartphones or some other techno babble I don't care about, and the butler didn't understand. But as soon as we told him that's the haunted mansion over in Anson Village, he knew just the place. And finally headed over, albeit with some hesitation. All the way back to the city, the driver keeps complaining about the place giving him the willies. It gives me willies, too. I would have loved to snap at him. But as soon as the thought occurs to me, another blossoms in the forefront of my mind. One that has somehow bothered me greatly, more than my exasperation over whisking this project, or wanting all of this to stop. There has been no Lorraine whispering in my ears today. Worse, I find myself searching for it. Searching for her. This. Nope. Loose ends. Bloody fucking loose ends everywhere. I thought I've already moved past this years ago. And it does nothing to help curb my frustration. If anything, it only assures that I want a stiff drink. And where else do I go to drink? Tuesdays are for karaoke. Wednesdays, improv. Usually, it's these four guys. Wow, I've just added the word. Four guys who did hilarious games. One with Irish drinking songs, always a crowd favorite. Though I love a good laugh, stand-up comedy isn't my thing. And without Cam or Herna or any other distractions, I am drinking a lot more this time. And when there's several bottles of beer in me, I get really, really embarrassing.
Hey! G! Psst! G, come over here! I need you for something!
It's a good thing that the bartender is a nice fellow. I'd probably been kicked out by other places by now. Or worse. If push comes to shove, all he will do is give you an easy smile and shake his head, even when he's attending to other customers. Just like now.
Give me a moment, will ya? I gotta go check on her.
He's some Asian guy. And I'm pretty sure I've seen him before a couple of times, although he never talks to anyone except G. Is it Ashton? Is Ashton here? Do we get to meet Ashton? The girls used to be all over him too, but he always turned them away.
I'll be here.
Yes.
You go do that before she falls over.
Ashton!
All right. What is it?
That's the same voice as Lee.
Do you need someone to help you get home?
Bartender, pour the wine!
I think that's enough alcohol for you, little missy. I'm cutting you off.
A line comes from the back of my throat as he pulls my bottle away. I have no hope of getting them back once they're behind the counter. Even in my drunken mind, I don't dare hop over it for them. Because what little sense I have left knows I'd sooner take the floor dive than succeed in wresting a bottle from a sober man. But that doesn't stop me from trying to reach out with my arms like a stupid idiot anyway. He smiles and shakes his head, just like I knew he would, before going back to the other guy.
Right now, where were we? How you holding up, boy?
With no drink and no one really to chat with, I would have gone home, or gone to sleep on the bar right then and there. But I'm not ready to stand up and try to trek back to my home just yet.
Same old. I'm still on the Luxborn firm case.
Those blokes they talk about being in dark suits, whisking people into the night or some shit and all that. Didn't the media call it some ridiculous name in the morning news?
What is it this time? Wait, don't answer that. They've called it a lot of things. As long as people don't start running around claiming they're the Illuminati. So, what have you got for me this time, G? Anything good?
Slow down there. You haven't even told me what sort of dealing dosh we got. Who are you looking into this time?
Their talk would have interested me, would have kept my attention, if I gave a damn. But in my current state, I can barely give two fucks about the things going on around me. All these words are just buzzing, barely surfacing from the sea of sounds that is this pub. And it would have stayed that way, perhaps even drowned, if I didn't hear his name.
Luke Wright. You know the guy. And don't pretend like you don't, G. It takes a special kind of ignorant not to know who he is.
That smug blonde who likes throwing round his money. He was just here a few days ago, as a matter of fact. Great tipper, if you think him just dumping a wad of cash on the counter after having too much whiskey counts as tipping. Why are you asking? He dirty?
You have no idea, G. He's probably the worst sort you can imagine.
Luke fucking Wright. Fucking whiskey. Even without him around, I'm still hearing about the guy. What the absolute fuck? Despite this, I find myself getting up and sauntering over to join them before I pipe up.
Is this smart talk about Luke fucking Wright I'm hearing, eh?
Private conversation here, lady.
There's only amusement on G's face. The Asian guy? He starts to look ticked off as hell.
Don't worry, Holmes, she's clean. And she might be able to help you with your, predicament.
Course. A drunk's just stumbled through here with what I need. Get real, G. No offense, lady, but you're smashed.
I know, right? Nothing beats being drunk after a hard day's work. Especially when you're working for Mr. Luke Wright.
So she works for the guy? Doesn't that make her, I don't know, suspect?
See, have a little faith in me, why don't ya? I don't have much, and you might as well have something to go off. You're the one who was so desperate to come running to me for business.
Yoo-hoo! Still right here, fellas. 5'11". Can't miss me. Unlike Shorty over here.
Oh my god.
What's with that mad look? You want to dance, boy? You don't look like you can bust a groove.
Marianne. Shush.
Maybe a leg, but with that fancy coat of yours.
To add insult to injury, I move directly behind him and use the top of his head as an armrest. But when he shakes me off, I plop into the seat right next to him.
Don't try me. You can hardly stay on your feet. We don't want to ruin your fancy coat, do we?
Ah, children, the both of ya. But you're still standing after all that, are ya? Man, you see this giantess? She's a legendary regular here. Been treated like there's no tomorrow. I'm a bit jealous. Can't do that anymore or my liver will give out on me. Good with the mic, too. Don't see you much recently, but I guess you're always busy, are ya? You're some fancy designer or something, if I remember correctly.
Wait, I know you. You were at the open house for the mansion.
Yeah, that's right. Marianne McCulloch. I'm a famous interior designer extraordinaire. Ooh, that rhymes.
Oh.
Anyway, you guys were talking about that weenie Luke Wright,
No.
right?
Oh no.
Or something. Can't really talk about it. I don't even know if I can trust you, even if G said you're clean. But anything would be of help.
Well, I don't gossip about my clients, if that's all there is to this.
You wanted to gossip about him a few minutes ago, Marianne.
And that was the beer talking, not Marianne.
You won't mind if we ask the beer a few questions then?
Maybe. Depends on who's asking and what they're asking. But seriously, that guy is abso-fucking-lutely frustrating. One moment, he's an absolute dickhead. And then he's acting like an actual decent human being the next. I just can't figure him out. I can't imagine how that pretty wife of his can put up with him. If I were her, I'd dump his flat arse straight up.
And I'm not just saying that because I think Hannah's pretty or anything. Luke is a catch too. They both are. But I really cannot, for the love of all things holy, see how they even work out together.
So, Luke Wright, have you noticed anything strange about him while you were working with him? Anything peculiar? Of note?
You're the one being peachy right about now, Holmes. But nah, nothing that comes to mind off the top of my head. He's just like most rich, smarmy arseholes and then some.
A giggle bubbles up and I press my cheek against the cool counter with my eyes shut tight, just because. Eventually, cracking one eye open, I can see they thought I fell asleep. I grin at Holmes.
So, Holmes, I'm guessing you're some private detective or something. Is it Hannah? Did she pay you to look if he's been cheating or some such?
Hannah's the wife, right? What about her? How's she?
How is she or how is she? Well and good. Definitely the nicer of the two and sexiest sin to boot. Not a private detective then? Are you from one of them tabloids wanting to know if the Luke Wright doesn't know how to put his pants on right? Pants.
Oh.
I take the pants off of...
Ah, here we go. Slipping. I haven't been this drunk in such a long time. It's a miracle I've been coherent for as long as I have been right now.
I'm asking you if you've noticed any odd behavior from her.
Odd behave... You what? I wonder how she'd be drunk. I can just imagine her like the giggly sort. What do you think?
These are serious questions, Marianne. Lives might just be at stake here.
What do you expect? She's smashed.
Why am I even doing this? This is getting me nowhere, G. She's not a reliable source. The chief, let alone the courts, aren't going to take the word of a drunk. This'll be dismissed, and I might be in trouble if they try to argue that I coerced a testimony out of her. This is a fucking train wreck.
You're a fucking train wreck now, if you ask me.
Who?
Maybe it's about time you apply the brakes and stop for a bit.
The wave of despair that comes over the both of them is palpable. If feelings had a taste, it'd be bitter than the beer I'm full of. And it gets me thinking, though thinking doesn't get me far with too much shit in my system.
You know that's not an option. Thanks for being patient, McCullough. Good luck with your work on that mansion.
Speaking of that mansion, there's something going on in that place. Something. As ocht day! No wonder Mr. Right likes it so much. It's as fishy as he is. Rotten bloke. Maybe that Santos girl is really onto something, eh? Suspicious shite, I'm telling you. Explains why she's so reluctant.
Oh shit!
What do you mean that Santos girl is onto something?
Before I can get another word out, there's hands on my shoulders and everything starts to spin. I quickly slapped his hands his way, the best I can, and sent him the foulest look I can muster.
Take your hands off me, pipsqueak. I'm not a lady who's shaken or stirred unless you want me up-chucking on your pretty hair. But it's just like I said. Are you sure you aren't brain damaged or deaf? Santos girl from BRC showed us this creepy letter. You know, just like those spam stuff you get in your emails. And we thought it was some joke or that the girl was just a bit too green to handle a big sale like that. You should have seen the look on their faces when they saw it. Whiskey, that's Luke fucking right, you get me? And the missus didn't look too happy either. I should have taken a picture and posted it everywhere. When rich snobs give you that face, no wonder the Santos girl went all mental on us. Working with them does that, you know? I think I'm about to. I'm not mental yet, am I? Anyway, just like I said, in that man... Hey, you okay? Holmes? You're looking a bit shaky yourself there.
And he really is pale. Paler than before, at least. I can see the gears turning in his head on overtime. Suddenly, he shoves a card in my hand. On it, his name, Ashton Frey, and his number. But he has second thoughts as he grabs it from me and slips it into my pocket.
You're cute, pretty boy. But I prefer blondies.
Well, you're not exactly my type either, lady. But listen to me. If something comes up, don't do anything rash. If you think you're in danger or if you see anything suspicious, call me and the authorities as soon as possible. You understand me? That's 99...
I know what the damn emergency number is.
Right, 999. Good. Anyway, I have to run. See you, G.
This guy's quick on his feet, already up and at him as soon as the number leaves his lips. Watching as he maneuvers through the crowd of the other pub goers is enough to tire me out. Fast as he can, he's at the door and throws us a smile, and that's all we get to see before he's gone, just like that.
Oi, what about your drink, boy? I'll go put it on your tab then.
Holmes boy always like that, G?
Pretty much. But what about you? I suppose I'll put your drinks on your tab too. Don't want you to spill your wallets when you look like you're close to spilling yourself.
Yeah, and if it's fine by you, I think I'll go take a bit of a cat nap here. Just for a sec or two.
Go right ahead. I'll wake you when I close up shop.
He's so patient. Mumbling a sleepy things, I dove off on the spot, face pressed to the counter. Already, I dread the pain I'll have for sleeping in such a position. But when you gotta go, you gotta go. Hi. What's up?
Oh, Marianne! How long have you been standing there, dearie? Come join us, Marianne. We won't bite. Unless you ask, that is.
Not that I can get much sleep to begin with. 28th, that's the day of the party, right? Yes. Oh boy. Do you ever have the feeling that they're working on something that they really enjoy, but still it eventually tires them out? Because honestly, I've been feeling like this.
You have certainly exceeded expectations, Marianne. Everything looks so marvelous, and in such a short time, too.
Though moments like these make all the hard work worth it. Definitely.
Well, I can't take all of the credit. People have certainly been enthusiastic about the idea of working on the right mansion. There won't be any more problems unless... Mr. Wright has any more objections about the second bedroom?
Oh, no. We proceed with that room as planned. I already agreed to him having his greenhouse and his vineyard and his stables. He may as well let me have this one thing.
We're only about halfway done, but the honest satisfaction on a client's face is enough to push me through. Let's face it, between my exasperation at Mr. Wright's antics and her, I've been burning the candles at both ends. I can't even close my eyes without seeing a dead girl's face. Dead girl. Dead. She's dead. I have to keep reminding myself that, burying my feelings as deep as they've buried her body, 6 feet under. I shouldn't waste so much time on someone who's supposed to be gone. I've wasted so many years thinking about her already. There should be no need to bother myself with the dead, where I should be bothering myself with the living. Too bad the living are usually as complicated, if not more, than the ghosts of my past.
But don't you have a party?
Yes. But Luke's just being a sweetie, you see. That friend he's visiting, he's having marital problems and he's just trying to cheer him up.
It's even more complicated when the living in question is a pair of rich and famous socialites way past their honeymoon phase. And I've been somehow roped into being a relationship counselor.
They've been married for a long time and they've hit a... how do they say it? A rough patch. His wife has a drinking problem and can be very neglectful. The poor thing really does his best to be a good husband. But it's never enough for her. Sometimes I think it's the years. Maybe it's been so long that they've lost that romantic spark. What do you think?
If I'm going to be completely honest, I need to ask. This is about you and Mr. Wright, isn't it?
This would change definitely if I hadn't had her ask for, like, an opinion, right?
Suppose it is. What would you tell me?
Then, I tell you it's none of my business. I tell you that I don't want to meddle. But, if the troubled husband with the neglectful wife asked me for my honest opinion, I'd say that he shouldn't base his happiness and his self-worth on someone else. Maybe he should try being independent for a while. See what it's like when he isn't trying to please someone else and doing things for himself. Everyone's supposed to be their own man or woman, right? A bit of breathing room never hurt anyone. We shouldn't let our fear control our lives.
Why she thinks a single woman like me would be the best sorts of relationship advice is beyond me. Still, I talk and answer to the best of my abilities. Without realizing it, I'm already pouring out a part of me that I had thought were long gone. I'd like to believe my words will be of some help to Mrs. Wright. If I'm honest, though, they are of some help to me, like some weight has been taken off my shoulders. Lorraine.
I really should handle what's left of the work.
You won't be attending the party? Oh, you really must, Marianne.
Please don't. The weight of what happened to her hasn't left me yet, did it? Maybe.
I'll try to stay in chat. Maybe grab a few bites and a drink, but I can't be around for the entirety of the event. My apologies. Busy.
You must stay a while. I'd love for you to meet some of my friends, and they're ever so excited to meet you. You need to say hello to the Lees, at least. If it wasn't for them, I'd never even heard of you.
Maybe it's about time I changed that.
We'll see. So, if I can be excused?
Certainly. You'll have to excuse me as well. I must attend to the party before any early birds arrive. Because, believe me, they will throw a fuss if things aren't ready, even when they're not supposed to be here until an hour later.
Though I shouldn't dwell on the dead, I shouldn't just callously forget about them, too. Saying that I have work left to do is an easy enough excuse to make. I know how other people see me. They see someone so obsessed with her craft that she would so easily miss things like a party for it. Outside the parlor, people hurry about and there's a preparation in the Wright's grand housewarming party. None spare me a glance as I slip past them, each working on their appointed roles and not daring to slack off while they work for what is probably the most powerful couple in Luxburn. I make it into the kitchen with ease, the wine cellar being my final destination. But when is a great task ever simple? Probably never. And this is a great task, isn't it? My greatest one yet that is worthy of being called a quest. I'm not acting as Marianne McCullough, the professional interior designer, when I chose to lie about being too busy for a party. I'm Marianne McCullough, the lawful and neutral cleric with 9 points in wisdom and 8 in charisma. Just thinking of it like that makes it a bit cheesy, but it helps with the fear. It helps overcome the insane thought that I'm actively seeking out something that has been plaguing me for years. I might face my worst nightmare, or I might see nothing and find my self-imagined grand quest fall flat. And who would have thought that the gatekeeper to my final quest would be someone I thought would be a valuable ally?
Schnell! Hurry up, you snails! We are on a deadline and you are wasting my time!
The butler comes up from the cellar and into the kitchen, tailed by a couple of others, people who I assume at most are most likely chefs and bartenders. He raises a brow at seeing me just standing there by the hatch, by the trap door. It almost looks like he's going to throw me out for being in the kitchen without permission. But then, he motions for the others to disperse and familiarize themselves with the surroundings. Meanwhile, he continues to stand there, preventing entry into the darkest beyond.
What are you doing here, Fräulein? This is not the place for guests or in an architect right now. I request you leave.
I was just looking around for any last-minute things, yes?
Yes, you have been doing that a lot. Looking around, snooping about. Now is not the time for such things. If you're not careful, people might think you are up to something.
The look he gives me says that is almost chilling. If life was a game book, he'd probably be the true neutral warlock guarding the treasure room. A difficult opponent to beat with 9 pounds in wisdom and 8 in dexterity.
Well, I'm not done yet. I actually need to go into the wine cellar. Just need a quick go at the place. So just don't mind me. I'll be out of your hair soon enough.
Go outside, enjoy the party. Bask in the praise and adulation they will no doubt shower you with when the madam speaks highly of you. Surely you've had enough of this stuffy old kitchen by now. You do not want to cause trouble. Both the bratwurst and Hannah want this to be perfect. It would be a disservice and disrespect to toe out of line and risk it being anything otherwise. And more importantly, I will be blamed for any failure that happens tonight.
His intervention almost turns me away. Maybe this is a sign I'm not meant to seek Lorraine out. But...
Please, it's really important.
15 minutes. 9, 10 minutes. Any longer and I'll pull you out of there myself. The bratwurst will be furious if he thinks anyone is touching his precious wine without his permission.
Thank you. This seriously means a lot.
He steps aside begrudgingly. At this point, it looks like there's no turning back. Oh shit, fuck, biscuit, damn it. Okay. Oh. I think I need a drink of water before I continue on. This is... oh, no. Alright, okay, this is gonna be fine. It's gonna be great, grand. I already passed my QTE for this chapter, so... it should be fine. The cellar greets me ominously as I descend. At first I was questioning why she wanted even to go to the fucking cellar, but then I remembered, and now upon seeing, there's the mirror. I forgot about that. The space feels smaller, with a lot more bottles lining the wall compared to before, and knowing what might be waiting for me here makes things worse. The mirror had been moved here from the study is my goal. I did not return to it after my initial discovery, but the thought of Lorraine, how much I wanted to see her again, even if it's just for one moment, keeps coming back to my mind. As I walk through the cellar, I have to stop when I feel something crunch beneath my feet. Oh. Whatever few bottles were left behind here are now nothing but glass under my heels. Perhaps dropped by one of the many chefs and bartenders that the butler had escorted through here before. And it made a downright mess, with red slick pooling from the remnants of the good drink. And with how dark this place is, a person with dark enough imagination can mistake it for blood. I can't help but think it is, despite the easy logical explanation that comes to my mind, only because of what I'm about to do. It's merely a momentary distraction as I continue to the end of the cellar where the mirror stands. Propped up on the far wall, it gleams innocently while pretending to be a simple and ordinary mirror. How morbid to think that this thing can show a person their deepest, most desperate desires, and then twist it to an image so dark. That's what I'd seen that day. Though I heard Lorraine many times, I'd only seen her here within its frame. I wonder if people have discovered it before. How many were wasted away in front of it, enamored, and how many were frightened away by what I saw? Yet, as I stand before it now, nothing. I can barely see my own reflection in its darkness.
How does this even work? Mirror, mirror on the wall? Something? Anything?
Nothing. Touching its surface doesn't make it magically active or anything like that. Activate or anything like that. There is no sudden surge of power, and I'm not suddenly granted sight. It stays what it is. A mirror. Was Lorraine's appearance in the mirror all some sort of fever dream? Am I really that burdened with guilt and despair that my mind would eat itself in my stress and have me hallucinate such things? Either way, just going here on some crazed obsession for a girl long dead must warrant me a trip to the doctor. Already I feel ill. After a few more minutes, in hopes that something would change, I turn around to leave. I can just go back upstairs like nothing ever happened, perhaps drop by the party for some hors d'oeuvres, then go home and collect myself. Besides, Mrs. Wright is expecting me, and I'm...
Going to leave me again then, are you?
I stop in my tracks, but I don't turn back. As much as it pains me, I don't look back. If I'm just hearing her again, desperately delusional, and I look back to see nothing, I don't want to give myself false hope. But when I feel fingers around my wrist pull at me, I look back in shock. My first thought is, how in God's name is this possible? And the second is, Lorraine. Her hands are cold.
Are you that mad at me that you're just going to ignore me, Marianne?
I don't know what to say. I can only stare at her and wonder. She stands there, in the mirror, with only her arm extended outwards for my sake. I look at the hand still holding my wrist, and when she sees me looking at it, she moves it so that our hands are intertwined, fingers weave together. Seeing her there, and feeling her touch meant I'm not crazy, though however impossible and unexplainable this all is to me right now. It just takes my breath away. Pulling her out from there is tempting. I can imagine doing so with ease. We can be together again, Lorraine and Marianne, like nothing had ever happened. But that would all be a big lie, wouldn't it?
What? Pack out your tongue? Don't just look at me like that. Say something.
Even if this thing was some sort of magical portal that could bring back the dead, that doesn't erase anything. Just looking at her, still a young teenager while I'm already a grown woman, it serves no other reason than to break the illusion that blinds me. I've seen her twice now, always behind the mirror. If this is real, if this isn't some delusion, then why can she only exist beyond the glass?
Yeah. You have no idea how happy I am to see you. It's been so long.
You don't look happy.
I really am happy, but at the same time, I can't help but think about what happened to you.
And what does that mean? What are you saying?
She gives me this peculiar look, and before my eyes, she moves to step out of the mirror. In turn, I wrench my hand from her and take a step back, almost as if I'm afraid.
I don't know how this is possible, but whatever this is, it isn't real. You can't be real.
I'm right here, aren't I? What other proof do you need?
No, I see you. I hear you. I feel you. But even with all that, you can't be real. You just can't. I saw your body. I helped bury you. You're dead.
A deep hurt crosses her face, and it just breaks my heart in two, seeing her wear that expression.
Burying me wasn't the only thing you did. Don't you dare lie. But I'm going to be the bigger woman, aren't I? Let bygones be bygones. I'll forgive you. As long as you stay with me, Marianne. That's why you came down here, right? To find me?
That was the plan. I came down here looking for her. For closure. But this isn't just closure. This is something else entirely. I didn't think I'd be forced to make such a choice. Do I leave or do I stay? Oh, shit. I don't know if there are bad endings or if it would just continue on if I choose to stay. But I'm sorry, I have to move on. This could also end badly too, now that I think about it. I have to move on. Closure. That's all I came here for. Whatever this is, it might as well just be all a devil's trick. And I might as well make some use of it, right? I say nothing at first, for fear of angering whatever phantom this is. I take Lorraine's hand and bring it up to my lips, pressing a kiss to her knuckles. She takes it as some sort of invitation to pull me along, to step back into the mirror until only her arm is extended again.
I should have been more honest back then, both to you and myself. I know it's too late. I'm sorry. But
the thought of being with the dead girl did not agree with me. Not one bit.
I can't stay with you.
So what? You're going to leave me for some old trophy wife? That's it, isn't it? You're going to leave poor Amy Lorraine and go after the next rich, pretty blonde that you see.
This is a mistake.
All these years, guilt has been my driving force. I felt so guilty for what I did, what I didn't do.
She thinks she can guilt me into being complacent, but she realizes otherwise as I pull my hands from her. And going by the look of anger on her face, an anger that runs cold, she did not like the fact that I am not some puppet on a string. Had she chosen her words carefully, I would have accepted whatever punishment Lorraine chose to give me. Guilt had ran my life, and it very well may have ended it. Because I deserved it.
But what I did to me. The blood in my hands is mine, not yours.
Whoever or whatever this shadow is, my gut tells me she's not Lorraine. Yet, I keep talking as if she is.
I broke your heart, not your neck.
Don't you dare deny it! It was your fault!
Because I loved you more than I dare to admit? Yes, that was my fault. But I never meant to hurt you like that.
Despite my words, no matter how sincere they are, she appears angry. Enraged, in fact. It's been years since I last saw that face, and even now, the memory of it is still etched deeply in my mind. The hurt, the tears, the hate spilling from her eyes that day, the moment I rejected her. Rejected myself for who I am. And she definitely will hate me for what I'm about to do next. To my left, a wine rack. And from there, I take a bottle and pray to all the saints that I can remember. For all my sins. For every hurtful word I've ever uttered. For what I've driven her to do that day. What I forced her into.
What are you doing?
No. I do it without thinking twice. Quickly, before I can hesitate, I grab a bottle and send it straight towards the mirror. Shards of the bottle and the mirror are sent flying everywhere, and Lorraine's screams echo in the cellar. Bitter. Searing. Like every wounding accusation she hurled at me. They never left me. I doubt they ever will. But with this, I can move away from them. From her. Live my life as I should, free from the burden. Her burden. Because the Lorraine I know, the real one, the person I loved, will never want me to carry this to my death. As the screaming dies down, I can't help but mutter weakly.
It's done. It's done. Oh, Lorraine. Forgive me, Lorraine.
Johannes is gonna be so pissed. He's gonna be so fucking pissed. Well, that's two people that I've managed to piss off with Johannes. I take some time to compose myself, breathing in and out, stamping down on the tremor still racking my hands, straightening out my jacket and fixing my hair. All at a weak attempt of returning to myself, to someone resembling my normal self. Returning myself to the... This would probably be easy to do with a mirror, but I likely won't be able to stand looking at one for a long time.
Well now, I should probably go back up there. Party to attend, rich socialites to do business with, and food to eat. Mrs. Wright will be happy if I make some time for it anyway.
Yet one last time, to the shattered glass beneath my feet.
I'm sorry, Lorraine. May you see God's light on the path.
Turning around to leave, and for good this time, the uneasy smile on my face falls as I see Lorraine, whole and well.
Come on, Mac. You really didn't think it would be that easy, did you? You get bonus points for trying. But you should know innate charisma is not enough to turn undead.
She advances towards me, packs me against the wall. I can't even reach for another wine bottle without putting myself within her reach. Despite my earlier bravado, I didn't think she'd be able to exist at all without the mirror. Can you blame me, though? It's not like I'm an expert on the supernatural.
That's not... You shouldn't be...
What? After the mirror? Did you think just moving on will erase what you did to me? You're nothing but a murderer, Marianne. A murderer!
Stay back. You're not real. Leave me alone. Stop. I'm trying to move on with my life, so why won't you let me? Please. Just get out of my head and leave me be.
Oh, no. No, I don't want to keep reading. I don't want to keep reading. Oh. I hate the decision I have made. This game's really good at making me hate my decisions. I try to find an exit when there's a click. The next thing I know, I'm falling back into the darkness. Oh. That's not at all what I expected. I fall on my back and the door slams shut behind me. In a daze, I look around wearily and find myself in another room entirely. On the other side of the wall, some sort of secret passage perhaps, an underground tunnel that has me wary and frightened. It also proves that the oddities in the mansion's floor plan are a lot more than just little discrepancies. I expect Lorraine to jump out at me from the darkness at any time. A breeze blowing through the tunnel has me relieved, though, at the idea that there is still a way to escape that should that happen. This is way better than being trapped underground with only God knows what that was. A funny thought crosses my mind to walk to where the exit might be. I think about how Mrs. Wright would be so disappointed if I didn't show up to the party. I imagine how furious Mr. Wright would be for breaking one of his wine bottles. Even Johann's reaction comes to mind, though I don't really know with that guy. One thing's for sure is that I would be calling Cam and Haruna for a drink as soon as I got out of here. Here we go. I was kind of wondering why we haven't seen Creepy McLady. That noise has me wary. A ghastly thing, a corpse of a woman, leans on the wall. Her arms and limbs, almost every inch of her lithe body, is peppered with wounds and rotting flesh. And it is then that the putrid smell of blood and gore hits me, making it so that I don't even question how I missed it in the first place.
How long has this been here? Oh, that smell. Oh, you're a nasty one, aren't you?
I flinch as the thing twitches. Hi. As soon as it opens its eyes and looks at me with a smile, there's nothing in my mind but horror. I break into a run. I try to keep on running, but no matter how much my legs and feet scream at me to stop. I keep going, even when I look back and see nothing of her anymore, because I can still hear her. The scampering of her feet, the words she tries to form with her bloodied mouth, and the painful sounds of bones grinding against each other as she moves closer and closer to me.
How long are these damn tunnels?
There's a split second where I know where the thing is right behind me, a strange sensation creeping over my limbs when her presence looms over me. And then, suddenly, I can't even do anything before I'm yanked by the hair and pulled back. Still, I struggle, up until I'm thrown to the side like some rag doll. I hit the ground on my side, and the musty old smell of old hay that reaches me is my only indication that I'm still alive.
Please don't hurt me!
My body hurts and I keep my eyes shut tight, afraid of what might happen next.
What's wrong, Marianne? Are you really afraid of little old me?
There's only dread, seeing how she's followed me even here. She looms over me, backs me further into the cell that I was thrown in.
Please. It's so cold. I don't want to be alone, Marianne. Why won't you stay with me? Why would you leave me? Why?
What are you?
Oh! That's a camera. Lorraine turns and shifts into that thing from before, and with that same gruesome grin, it takes a step towards the cell. Towards me. I barely scramble to my knees when the door to the cell slams shut and it just stands there, staring. Shouts for help ring out in the tunnels. But none of them are coming from me. I'm more paralyzed and shocked by what is happening. My throat tightens at being fooled by the image of Lorraine, at the thought of being trapped down here. So then, where?
Help me! Help me! Oh, help me! Are you getting all this on camera, Carl?
Yeah, but are you guys sure this is a good idea? We're breaking and entering here.
Don't worry, the owners of this place haven't been here in a long time. Look at this thing, though! It has writing in blood like some cheesy 80s horror prop. Wait, I have
They added the send this to 5 people.
Oh man, that's genius!
What kind of butthead would even take this thing seriously? Maybe we could stick this in Rowan's backpack. That's Suarez kid would panic. Voice.
Hi.
Voice. What? Spit it out! Behind you!
There, in the corner of the cell. Oh. A digital camera comes flickering to life, and a video has played back on the screen. It was hard to even consider paying attention to it when my life is on the line. But when the ghost doesn't move and the teenagers' mocking shouts of "help me" filled the cell, I just had to watch. And with what I've seen, students, judging by their St. Goretti uniforms, they were holding
That letter!
And that thing, the woman, she... Oh, hey, now it's shifting. Okay! Alright, okay, hey, dumbass. No. Yes. Click. Oh, I hit load game again, didn't I? God damn it. Save. There we go. Okay. I think it's... Okay, so... Like... Hang on. Okay, so Isabella, Hannah, and Zachary all basically, like, saw the woman, and with Marianne, she kept, it kept shifting to be her long, lost love that was not meant to be, or whatever. Lorraine. Although, with Zachary, the person also got associated with hums of his mother, which I find interesting, but for Isabella and Hannah, it's just been straight up, like, creepy McGhost, although Hannah like saw it like what, twice or whatever, and then she got possessed, and then Isabella's just straight up like, yep, I'm seeing it. I mean, it's not fine, but okay. But now we're gonna be able to, in the next part, be able to figure out why Becca went to Ash and was like, no, there's something here, because that was part of like Zach's chapter, whatever, be like, yeah, no, there's something. Becca, of all people, says that there's something. And this starts, I think it's at the 18th, which is what happened. Okay. Alright, but I am gonna leave this here because I didn't quite pay attention to how long this has actually been going since I kind of split this up with me playing it in different parts, but I think this is longer than like the other episodes. And I might as well just stick now to just one character per part. This is fascinating. I am slowly becoming very enraptured with the story. I am especially ecstatic for Ashton's part not next time, because next time is Rebecca, but the one after that. I'm really curious about Luke's one as well, even though I don't like him. Ew! Just ew! So much ew! But Ashton's pretty cool, even if he is infuriating. Becca I'm overall fond of. Okay, anyway, I'm gonna go. I will see you next time. Have a good evening, night, afternoon, morning, whatever it is for you.